Imagine if the largest military assembly in contemporary U.S. history wasn't triggered by worldly dangers, but by an astonishing phenomenon speeding across our solar system at this instant. An event that's prompting Harvard astrophysicists to rethink our assumptions about objects from other stars, while Pentagon insiders quietly ponder if we're on the brink of detecting tech from a distant stellar realm. Step into yet another exploration of where advanced science collides with the enigmas that make us ponder our spot in this immense universe. If delving into the edges of discovery blending solid facts with intriguing what-ifs appeals to you, give that like button a tap, subscribe now, and drop in the comments where you're tuning in from, the local time, and the weirdest unsolved oddity you've ever come across. Let's plunge into a narrative playing out directly overhead as we speak. On September 25, 2025, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth released a directive that rippled through global military hierarchies. All generals and admirals holding the rank of brigadier general or higher in leadership roles across the planet were ordered to report without delay to Marine Corps Base Quantico in Virginia for a crisis summit. Zero details provided, no schedule shared, just an unmatched assembly of hundreds of top-tier military commanders yanked from ongoing operations on 6 continents with only 48 hours warning. Yet, what elevates this tale to something truly mind-blowing is this. Merely 2 months prior, on July 1st, an automated observatory in Chile picked up an anomaly that would upend our grasp of celestial travelers and spark heated arguments over alien intellect. The entity labeled 3I Atlas wasn't merely another cosmic boulder. It marked the third verified interstellar body ever found hurtling through our solar system along a path so exact, so flawlessly synced with our planet's paths, that the odds of it happening randomly clock in below 0.1. Per NASA's formal reveal, 3I Atlas was initially detected via the Atlas Survey Telescope in Rio Hurtado, Chile. That asteroid terrestrial impact last alert system, built to flag risky near-Earth rocks, nabbed what first seemed like a dim speck in the sky. But once experts crunched its path, they saw it was something entirely new. The thing was zipping along at more than 200,000 km/h on a hyperbolic arc, signaling it came from outside our solar system and would swing by our sun before vanishing into the void. What distinguishes 3I Atlas from earlier interstellar guests isn't solely its scale. Initial gauging put its width at up to 20 km, dwarfing any prior finds of this type. The real standout is its actions, its route, and the mounting oddities that have certain researchers murmuring about scenarios once relegated to sci-fi novels. Dr. Avi Loeb, the provocative Harvard theorist who once proposed that the initial interstellar arrival, 1I Oumuamua, could be man-made, is now voicing sharper concerns regarding 3I Atlas. Through a wave of articles and online entries that's gripped global notice, Loeb contends the object shows traits aligning more with deliberate design than random junk from space. The clues he highlights are persuasive and unsettling. To start, the outright bulk of 3I Atlas renders its spotting a statistical fluke. Such enormous items ought to be incredibly scarce among interstellar wanderers. The likelihood of spotting one this huge through sheer luck is, the odds of spotting such an interstellar visitor are pegged at about 1 in 10,000. Nevertheless, we've now identified the third one in history, and it's easily the biggest so far. What's more, the path of 3 Atlas traces what seems like an ideal route for scrutinizing planets. Instead of slicing across our solar system at a haphazard tilt like you'd anticipate from space junk flung out by gravity tugs in some far-off stellar setup. This thing is cruising right along the orbital plane of our worlds. That positioning lets it swing fairly near Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, creating hypothetical chances to closely examine the features of each planet. Yet the creepiest part about 3 at last could well be when it shows up and where it's headed. Its present course will take it behind the sun come late October 2025, setting up an ideal window for sneaky trajectory tweaks. A craft with cutting-edge engines might exploit this solar eclipse to shift direction undetected beyond the reach of earthly watchers to monitor the shift. Basically, 3 Atlas will vanish from sight just when it'd be simplest for it to veer toward our planet. Dr. The Loeb proposes that should 3 Atlas turn out to be a man-made artifact, its objective could echo the dark forest idea coined by sci-fi writer Lou Sheehan. That concept seeks to unravel the Fermi paradox, the baffling lack of obvious extraterrestrial societies amid the galaxy's abundance of worlds that might support life. Under this idea, sophisticated societies stay concealed since the cosmos teems with aggressive hunters that wipe out whatever they find. In that kind of universe, any off-world scout would prioritize covert spying, collecting data on risks while dodging notice. The consequences send shivers. If 3 at last marks our initial brush with alien tech, its goal might involve not friendly scouting, but a methodical evaluation of our skills and world safeguards. The route drawing it near several planets might signal a full-scale scouting operation, logging details from air makeup to traces of tech progress. Though most conventional stargazers brush off these worries as wild tales, defense intel experts wouldn't overlook them. The Pentagon's track record shows it treats possible dangers with gravity, even if the chances are slim. The very outlook that spawned Project Blue Book, the Air Force's 2-decade probe into unexplained aerial phenomena, would likely insist on a deep dive into any solid scholarly guess about menacing alien gadgets. When it comes to safeguarding the nation, the line between likely and feasible shifts in weight. Scientists demand ironclad proof for outlandish ideas, but defense strategists have to game out nightmare situations and gear up for threats that might never arise. Spotting an odd star-crossing body paired with solid scholarly musing on its maybe-engineered origins would spark secret talks on how to react. Think about the schedule that unfolds as we trace these happenings step by step. 3I at last turns up in early July. Over July and August, skywatchers around the globe ramp up their scrutiny with top-tier gear, such as the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope. Per NASA's progress reports, these scans uncover water vapor and carbon dioxide in the object's surrounding haze, hinting at standard comet behavior. Still, certain traits continue to baffle. The European Space Agency's FAQ document on 3I Atlas points out that the comet's changes in brightness don't align with the usual patterns for a spinning nucleus. Its spectral profile reveals odd characteristics that prove hard to account for with standard theories of comet makeup. Most notably, even though it's presumed to be releasing material into space as it heats up closer to the sun, 3I Atlas holds a surprisingly steady path without the minor shifts often triggered by gas emissions. By September, sufficient data would have built up, enabling intel experts to perform their independent review apart from mainstream scientific talks. While stargazers argued over whether the entity displayed obvious traits of a typical comet, secret deliberations likely delved into far more alarming scenarios. Suppose the seeming comet-like actions were a disguise. Suppose the consistent course hinted at deliberate navigation tech. Suppose the entry into our solar system marked the start of a deliberate exploration or setup for closer interaction. Such concerns would have climbed the ranks, ultimately arriving at the top echelons of the defense establishment. Secretary Hegseth, recognized for his offbeat style in military command and readiness to question routine protocols, would have confronted a choice without parallel in recent defense annals. How does one gear up for a potential danger that might be imaginary, yet if genuine, could pose a dire threat to humanity's survival? The response seems to have involved the largest ever assembly of U.S. military brass. Every top general and admiral, no matter their ongoing duties or mission classifications, got directives to join a secure session at Quantico. The veil of confidentiality around this event was without precedent. The attendees themselves had zero prior details on the topics to be covered. One unnamed source chatting with CNN likened the vibe to a scene from a grim sci-fi tale, dubbing the assembly the general's version of Squid Game. Just handling the arrangements was immense. Leaks from the Washington Post and CBS News indicate that personnel were yanked from live battlefields in the Middle East and Africa. NATO heads abandoned their stations across Europe. Admirals from the Pacific Fleet halted mid-drill to head back stateside. The expenses for travel, protection, and mission interruptions demanded sign-off from the uppermost government tiers, implying the trigger for this summit was deemed critically urgent. Selecting Quantico for the venue adds extra weight. Though the Marine Corps base Quantico is best known for training officers, it also contains some of the armed forces' tightest security conference spaces. These chambers, built to block all electronic eavesdropping or info spills, offered an ideal spot for hashing out details too delicate for standard Pentagon sessions. As various outlets noted, the Pentagon's reply to press questions stuck to a brief note that Secretary Hegseth was set to brief his top commanders, offering nothing on the session's goals or extent. This tight-lipped stance, paired with the event's historic scale, sparked a void of info that buzzed with guesses and whispers across Army circles and defense firm networks. At the same time, 3I Atlas pressed on through our solar system, intensifying in glow as it neared the sun and coming into view for ever stronger scopes. Each fresh sighting bolstered the expanding archive of details on this enigmatic intruder. Certain results backed the idea of it being an atypical yet organic comet. Detection of water vapor and carbon dioxide in the objects surrounding Coma matched the anticipated makeup of a comet. NASA officials and leading astronomers highlighted these findings as confirmation that 3I was precisely what it seemed. Still, certain other data points raised deeper concerns. A report from scientists at Michigan State University showed that 3I had appeared in stored photos from NASA's Exoplanet Survey satellite, captured as early as May 2025, 2 months prior to its formal announcement. This earlier sighting indicated the celestial body had been active and detectable for a longer period than first thought, prompting inquiries into why automated monitoring tools overlooked it initially. Dr. Lowe kept probing these irregularities via his Medium blog and preprint platforms in academia. His posts blended thorough scientific scrutiny with imaginative hypotheses that gripped widespread attention. The notion that this could mark humanity's initial encounter with alien tech, perhaps as an uncrewed scout, signaled a dramatic reevaluation of our cosmic position. Nevertheless, amid the buzz from the public and clashes in scientific communities over 3I Atlas, the vital conversations occurred in confidential settings within protected governmental sites. Security experts evaluated the object's traits, employing tools beyond the reach of public stargazers. Defense-oriented orbital tracking systems built to monitor risks near Earth now focused on this visitor from beyond our solar system. The overlap between the enigmatic armed forces gathering and the disputed comet underscores the intricate ties between breakthroughs in science and matters of state protection today. When bold assertions arise about remarkable events, reactions need to weigh cautious research against wise readiness for improbable yet devastating scenarios. This narrative stands out especially because it plays out amid our shifting bond with the stars. Throughout much of history, the gaps among stars were viewed as impassable emptiness, a safeguard shielding our planet from outside perils. Discoveries of star-crossing bodies such as Oumuamua, 2I Borisov, and the current 3I Atlas have demolished that view. It's clear now that materials and possibly devices move freely across stellar realms. The data crunching that renders 3I Atlas so fascinating also spotlights our scant grasp of how often these interstellar wanderers appear and what forms they take. Should items this large prove as uncommon as models predict, spotting 3 in under 10 years points to either remarkable fortune or a major gap in our knowledge of such populations. Certain experts propose that enhanced spotting tech is merely uncovering a concealed array of spacefarers. Figures like Dr. Lowe, however, insist the odd traits of these entities call for bolder interpretations. The discussion spills over from scholarly debates into real-world governance. In what ways ought nations handle finds that upend our views on space events? Are there established guidelines for gauging spaceborne hazards? How do spy networks judge assertions of otherworldly gadgets when proof stays unclear, though stakes loom vast? These issues grow thornier when factoring in global aspects of threats from orbit. 3I Atlas isn't heading solely toward the United States, but toward the entire planet. Any hazard it could pose would impact everyone on Earth. Yet the handling, at least as the Quantico gathering suggests that the matter is mainly a national concern. This prompts troubling inquiries into handling worldwide dangers amid rising global rivalries and suspicion. Reactions from the scientific world to Dr. Lowe's ideas have varied, with numerous astronomers voicing irritation over what they view as hasty guesses drawn from partial information. Dr. Tom Statatler, NASA's principal expert on small bodies in the solar system, informed The Guardian that 3 Atlas resembles a comet and exhibits comet-like actions, highlighting sightings of conventional cometary patterns. Additional experts have highlighted the presence of ordinary cometary substances as proof challenging the idea of an artificial source. Nevertheless, even doubtful researchers recognize the distinctive features of 3 Atlas that justify ongoing examination. Its substantial dimensions, exact path, and steady motion distinguish it from ordinary cometary intruders. Current monitoring by various space observatories offers a rare chance to scrutinize an interstellar entity closely, irrespective of its true character. These developments align with wider shifts in governmental and military strategies for addressing space-related anomalies. The Pentagon's new All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office and the release of formal documents on unidentified aerial phenomena indicate an increasing readiness to probe odd events that might once have been overlooked or downplayed. This move within institutions toward treating irregular occurrences with greater gravity provides a backdrop where scholarly conjectures about items like 3 Atlas gain heightened notice from policymakers and security leaders. Interpreting this as prudent vigilance or excessive worry hinges mostly on evaluating the core scientific proof and the odds of unconventional interpretations. As 3SAT at last advances into the inner solar system, the intensity of this discussion escalates. The entity will hit its nearest point to the Sun in late October, vanishing behind our star for a few weeks thereafter. Upon its reappearance, stargazers will get their last chance to watch this visitor from beyond before it heads back into the vast cosmos. Yet, those weeks of concealment by the Sun go beyond a mere break in viewing. They mark a span when any supposed path adjustments might happen without notice. Should 3 at last truly be guided by intelligence, that vital interval could decide if the narrative concludes as an intriguing aside in celestial records or marks the start of a development with profound implications for humankind. The top military figures assembled at Quantico in September 2025 were undoubtedly updated on such prospects. Their secure deliberations likely addressed reaction strategies, surveillance tools, and backup measures for different situations. The extraordinary scale of the assembly implies that the intelligence shared was deemed grave enough to divert numerous high-ranking personnel from routine responsibilities. Time will tell if that judgment holds true. 3 at last could turn out to be simply an exceptionally big and strategically placed fragment of ancient ice and stone, an intriguing yet benign guest from the starry voids, or it might signify something much more remarkable, humanity's initial verified brush with tech from another stellar realm. The allure of this evolving tale rests not in its final outcome, but in how it showcases our species' advancing prowess in spotting and dissecting celestial wonders. We inhabit a time when objects from other stars can be detected from distances of millions of kilometers. When orbital scopes can dissect, their scientists can now scrutinize the makeup of these visitors with exceptional precision, especially as arguments among experts regarding their origins might sway choices made by top government officials. This marks a profound change in how humankind connects with the universe. We've moved past simply watching heavenly occurrences from afar, becoming instead engaged players in an interstellar dialogue that could reach well outside our own solar neighborhood. If that dialogue involves other intelligent beings, is still among the deepest riddles confronting our kind. The tale of 3 at last, along with any military actions it might have sparked, encourages us to ponder such ideas not in dread, but through the awe and inquisitiveness that have long fueled our quests for knowledge and adventure. Amid the immense void separating stars, age-old voyagers transport signals from remote planets. Certain signals could be encoded in the principles of physics and chemistry, reflecting the evolutionary tales of star clusters distant from ours. Still others might employ intentional codes crafted by intellects that mirror our own interest in the universal network we all share. Uncovering 3. I at last goes beyond adding yet another oddity to the list of space enigmas. To grasp why this specific spacefarer has drawn the gaze of researchers and defense strategists alike, it's essential to explore the core rules dictating motion across the void and how the path of 3 Atlas defies numerous assumptions about typical space junk. Contemplating the enormous gulf among stars, it's simple to picture interplanetary voids as flawless emptiness where items glide along direct paths at steady paces. Yet the truth proves much more intricate. All matter in existence operates amid pull forces generated by suns, worlds, and the unseen dark matter that molds the framework of entire galaxies. A cosmic drifter, be it organic or engineered, has to maneuver through this intricate multi-layered web of attractive forces. For an organic item to get hurled from its native stellar setup and embark on a journey between systems, it usually demands a near brush with a hefty world or a quick pass by a star that delivers sufficient thrust to surpass the breakout speed of its starting locale. As detailed in computational models featured in the Astrophysical Journal, these launch incidents generally bestow haphazard speeds and bearings on the outgoing items. Most such cosmic nomads ought to enter unfamiliar stellar realms from wholly unpredictable angles, tracing courses unrelated to the circling levels of worlds in those target setups. That's precisely what renders 3 Atlas both extraordinary and disconcerting. Rather than entering from a haphazard spot in the heavens, this entity neared our sun's domain via a route that aligns nearly exactly with the ecliptic plane, the identical level plane where our planet, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter circle the sun. Multiple separate study groups have computed the odds of a casually flung item matching our system's layout with such accuracy, yielding findings that repeatedly disturb. Dr. David DeWitt from UCLA, a top authority on minor solar system entities and part of the Hubble Space Telescope crew monitoring 3I at last, has labeled this positioning as statistically unlikely enough to border on outright impossibility via mere luck. During a discussion with the New York Times, DeWitt pointed out that the entity's course implies either an astonishing fluke or intentional steering. However, path matching forms just a single facet of the enigma encircling 3 Atlas. Just as baffling is the entity's impressive steadiness while passing through our sun's territory. Natural comets, especially those making their initial pass near the sun, often exhibit unpredictable movements as the volatile substances on their exteriors start to evaporate. This release of gases produces streams of matter that function like small thrusters, nudging the comet's path in unexpected directions. According to data released by the European Space Agency, 3I at last is deviating only slightly from its forecasted trajectory, even though there's obvious signs of cometary behavior, including a noticeable coma and tail. Such steadiness points to either a distinctive inner makeup that reduces the impact of outgassing or some counteracting force that offsets the typical disruptions to its course. The revised size assessments for 3I at last introduce further intrigue to this already enigmatic scenario. Early luminosity readings indicated a body of immense scale, possibly spanning 20 kilometers, positioning it as not only the biggest interstellar interloper spotted to date, but surpassing 99 of comets within our solar system. Follow-up views from the Hubble Space Telescope have adjusted those figures downward, proposing a less grand yet impressive diameter of 5 to 6 kilometers. Despite the updates, 3LAS stands out as unusually sizable for an interstellar traveler. The principles governing planet formation and expulsion imply that compact items ought to dominate among these cosmic drifters, far outnumbering the giants. Massive bodies demand greater thrust to reach escape speeds and tend to get held back by the gravity of their home stars. Encountering a hefty newcomer like this, merely the third verified interstellar object, challenges probability models and keeps scientists scratching their heads. These oddities haven't gone unnoticed by Dr. Avi Loeb, who gained notoriety for his bold claims regarding the engineered origins of Oumuamua, making him a leading voice in debates over extraterrestrial tech possibilities. In his continued examination of 3I Atlas, shared via scholarly outlets and mainstream platforms alike, Loeb has broadened his case from mere numerical oddities to wider inquiries on spotting manufactured items amid the stars. Loeb's take on the 3 Atlas enigma leans on ideas from the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, or SETI, field. Conventional SETI hunts have zeroed in on picking up radio waves from distant societies, based on the idea that sophisticated cultures would advance to radio-based messaging. Yet this method might stem from a deep-seated prejudice favoring tech that mirrors humanity's own evolution. A society advanced enough to dispatch scouts across stars would probably wield capabilities well beyond our grasp. Those scouts could avoid broadcasting via radio or other waves. Rather, they might prioritize covert scouting, collecting data on far-off planets while staying undetectable to evade threats from wary locals. This idea echoes the dark forest idea that science fiction writer Leo Chikshin brought to fame in his celebrated book by that title. The notion posits that the galaxy's quiet on alien fronts isn't due to emptiness, but intentional secrecy. In a universe of unknown motives among extraterrestrial powers, the wisest move for any tech-savvy group could be to lurk in the shadows, vigilantly watching prospective allies or foes. The dark forest hypothesis implies that any extraterrestrial scout entering our solar. The system could be engineered to replicate natural occurrences with remarkable fidelity. An advanced scouting operation might intentionally emulate the look and motion of a comet or asteroid to evade alerting the societies under observation. Only in-depth examination could uncover minor irregularities hinting at the item's man-made origins. Viewed through this lens, the peculiar traits of 3I Atlas carry darker undertones. Its exact path may indicate deliberate maneuvering to maximize viewing prospects. The substantial dimensions could house cutting-edge detection instruments and transmission gear. Its evident steadiness might stem from ongoing control mechanisms, countering environmental disturbances to sustain an ideal route. Yet the most troubling aspect could be the schedule of 3I at last and its endpoint inside our solar system. The current path will position it obscured by the sun in late October 2025, resulting in a multi-week interval where it becomes entirely invisible from our planet. This solar conjunction offers an ideal window for any imagined steering tech to modify the trajectory undetected. Experts in military orbital monitoring, with resources surpassing those of amateur stargazers, would keenly grasp the tactical ramifications of such a situation. Elaborate orbital surveillance setups, forged in the Cold War era to track orbital assets and rocket firings, might spot trajectory adjustments overlooked by public scopes. Still, even the finest ground-based detectors face constraints when scanning items on the sun's opposite side. Defense specialists' worries would center on events following 3 Atlas's reappearance from solar shadow in late November. Should the entity adhere to its forecasted route, proceeding along its hyperbolic arc into deep space, the enigma would probably stay a scholarly intrigue. However, should sightings show any shift from the anticipated path, especially one drawing it nearer to our world, the consequences would be far-reaching. Such a development would account for the extraordinary defense summit called by Secretary Hegst in September 2025. The assembly's date, mere weeks prior to 30 Thur at last vanishing behind the sun, implies that strategists were crafting backup plans for diverse potential results. The session's broad scope, uniting nearly all top U.S. armed forces leaders, signals readiness for threats to worldwide stability. The secure talks at Quantico likely spanned options from the best-case view of 3 Atlas as an extraordinary yet benign cosmic event to the direst prospects of antagonistic extraterrestrial devices. Defense strategists are adept at readying for rare yet catastrophic incidents, and a possibly engineered extrasolar body would undoubtedly merit that focus. Yet, the Pentagon's handling of 3 LAS should also be placed against the wider backdrop of evolving U.S. military stances on unidentified atmospheric incidents. The creation of the Old Domain Anomaly Resolution Office in 2022 signaled a pivotal move toward rigorous probing of odd encounters once brushed off or overlooked. This structural evolution mirrors rising awareness that progress in detection tools has rendered it harder to attribute strange detections to technical glitches or human misjudgment. Ultra-clear imaging devices, refined radar setups, and self-operating alert grids produce enormous data volumes that expose events beyond naked eye perception. When multiple independent systems identify identical, unusual patterns, the chances of instrumental inaccuracies diminish and the weight of the findings grows stronger. The advanced tools that allow for spotting faint irregularities in airborne events similarly facilitate in-depth examinations of cosmic intruders such as 3 at last. Orbiting observatories, earthbound facilities, and defense monitoring networks gather vast quantities of information on these entities, uncovering traits that past eras of stargazers could never have detected. Such improved monitoring prowess offers both prospects and hurdles for experts evaluating possible dangers. Spotting irregularities that could hint at man-made sources entails the duty to decide on suitable actions upon their detection. The principles of science insist on rigorous validation and expert evaluation prior to endorsing bold assertions. Yet, concerns over homeland protection might necessitate readiness for radical scenarios even prior to broad agreement among experts. This conflict between methodologies surfaces clearly in discussions about 3 Atlas within the wider community. Leading space science bodies such as NASA and the European Space Agency have focused on data backing the view of the entity as an ordinary icy body from space. Announcements and formal declarations stress the presence of steam and CO2, substances aligning with standard makeup of such wanderers. Nevertheless, these organizations also admit to the peculiar features of 3 Atlas that justify further investigation. Its dimensions, path, and actions set it apart from prior cosmic travelers, warranting precise scrutiny. The continuous monitoring via various orbital instruments signifies major commitments of effort and funding, indicating that even cautious research groups appreciate the need to fully profile this exceptional arrival. For external watchers in the armed forces, press, or everyday citizens, the difficulty rests in decoding the precise wording of formal science updates. As NASA portrays 3I Atlas as displaying standard icy body traits, even as it launches extensive, never-before-seen efforts with multiple scopes, the seeming inconsistency underscores the built-in restraint of research bodies facing discoveries that could upend established views. Such restraint carries over to the evaluation procedures shaping scholarly releases. Publications by Dr. Lowe proposing a constructed basis for spacefaring items endure heavy examination from evaluators who sensibly insist on robust proof for radical ideas. Consequently, there is frequently a lag between first sightings of odd occurrences and the release of analyses that could back alternative views. In contrast, security assessment specialists work within tighter limits and schedules compared to university scholars. Whereas researchers might tolerate delays of months or years for conclusive proof, strategy makers for protection need to gauge risks and craft countermeasures using partial details. The slim chance that 3 Atlas embodies extraterrestrial tech would compel swift focus from guardians of public safety. This variance in pacing sheds light on the Quantico gathering happening in September, instead of holding out for firmer scholarly verdicts on 3 Atlas. Once peer-reviewed analysis conclusively define the entity's essence, it will have exited our star system for good. Preparations for safeguards or global outreach efforts have to be formulated and enacted as long as the entity stays visible and possibly reachable. The global aspects of the enigma of 3 at last introduces further layers of intricacy to any armed forces reaction. Such celestial wanderers transcend the borders of any one country, presenting hazards that could affect the whole of humankind. Conventional ideas about territorial control and country-specific protection lose their relevance when confronting dangers that span the vastness of space. Yet the handling of 3 Atlas, judging from the U.S. Armed Services Assembly, seems largely confined to a domestic framework. This gap between the worldwide scope of possible orbital dangers and the country-focused essence of protective measures highlights broader obstacles in global teamwork on orbital safety matters. Even after years of joint efforts in research-oriented space ventures, defense and surveillance tools in orbit continue to be tightly held state secrets. The detection devices and evaluation methods that could conclusively determine the essence of 3I at last are frequently restricted innovations that governments hesitate to disclose, even to trusted partners. Consequently, reactions to events that could signify the most pivotal advancement in mankind's timeline end up disjointed. Should 3 truly be an extraterrestrial scout, its purpose would span the planet and every person on it. However, our countermeasures are constrained by geopolitical lines and organizational competitions that might appear ridiculously narrow-minded from the viewpoint of cosmic explorers. These factors likely pressed upon the thoughts of the defense officials assembled at Quantico during September 2025. Their secure presentations would have addressed not just the engineering elements of the 3I Atlas puzzle, but also the political and tactical hurdles in aligning countermeasures against possible otherworldly encounters. The extraordinary circumstances of such a situation would demand fresh guidelines, novel organizations, and innovative approaches to worldwide collaboration. The confidentiality around the Quantico gathering mirrors both valid protection worries and the deep ambiguity regarding public outreach on prospects that echo speculative tales yet could embody actual scientific reality. How does one ready society for the chance of extraterrestrial interaction without sparking alarm or eroding trust in research bodies? How does one weigh openness against mission safety amid situations lacking any past examples? These inquiries grow even more intricate when factoring in how other countries might view U.S. defense setups for extraterrestrial interaction possibilities. Could such setups be seen as safeguards or as bids to secure tactical edges from prospective alien innovations? Might global allies insist on involvement in strategy sessions, or would they craft their own independent defense systems? The worldwide ramifications of the 3I at last riddle go further than short-term safety issues to include core dilemmas about humankind's path in a galaxy that may teem with life. If this cosmic intruder signifies our initial verified brush with alien tech, it would signal the dawn of a fresh chapter in human chronicles, a phase where we evaluate our deeds not merely by earthly outcomes, but within the framework of ties to a wider stellar society. Nevertheless, even should 3 turn out to be wholly organic, its detection has already started reshaping our views on cosmic occurrences and our role amid the stars. The unlikely probabilities tied to its traits serve as a reminder of our scant grasp on the occurrence and makeup of interstellar nomads. The chance that sophisticated alien scouts could mimic organic forms compels us to reevaluate our preconceptions about detecting interaction with alien minds. As 3 at last nears the core solar region, these inquiries. The situation is growing more pressing by the day. This celestial body is set to make its nearest pass by the Sun toward the end of October, after which opportunities for in-depth scrutiny will start to diminish. The information gathered in these vital weeks could decide if this narrative turns into a captivating segment of astronomy's past or the inaugural section of a groundbreaking era for humankind. To grasp the heated dispute around 3I Atlas, it's essential to first examine the individual whose ideas have turned this cosmic find into a possible revolutionary change for society. Dr. Abraham Avey emerges as a leading and divisive personality in contemporary astrophysics, a Harvard instructor whose openness to alien interpretations of space oddities has brought him global praise alongside sharp backlash from fellow experts. Lowe's path into the heart of the extraterrestrial artifact discussion didn't start with 3I Atlas, but with its forerunner, the enigmatic space traveler called one Oumuamua. Upon its detection in October 2017, this elongated intruder quickly drew the interest of scientists as the initial verified interstellar entity observed traversing our solar system. Yet, as experts delved deeper into Oumuamua, they revealed a range of baffling traits that resisted standard interpretations. The chief concern was Oumuam's surprising speed-up while departing from the Sun. Ordinary comets frequently exhibit such patterns from outgassing, where sunlight warms their exteriors and produces vapor streams functioning as small thrusters. However, Oumuamua displayed no evident traces of this process, no comet-like tail or hazy envelope, and still it sped up. Such gravity-defying motion hinted at either atypical inner makeup or deliberate drive mechanisms. Although the majority of researchers offered ever more unusual earthly accounts for Oumuamu's actions, from nitrogen frost structures to flattened disk forms, Lowe pursued a starkly contrasting path. In a 2018 article appearing in Astrophysical Journal Letters, written alongside postdoctoral scholar Shuel Bali, Lowe posited that Oumuamua's features aligned with those of a light sail, a propulsion system for vessels that harnesses stellar light pressure for momentum. The article employed precise language and solid methodology, framing the man-made origin idea as just one among multiple options for Oumuamua's irregular traits. Yet, its ramifications were transformative. Should Oumuamua prove to be a constructed item, it would mark our species' initial brush with tech from a distant stellar realm, a revelation that would reshape our perception of humanity's cosmic role. The reaction from the scientific world came fast and mostly hostile. Peers faulted Lowe for advancing what they viewed as reckless conjecture, lacking solid proof. Certain voices claimed his readiness to entertain alien ideas showed flawed reasoning or a bid for publicity. Tensions escalated as Lowe broadened his points in his 2021 volume Extraterrestrial, the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth, sharing his perspective with everyday readers. Still, Lowe stood firm against the backlash. During talks and speeches, he contended that scientists' hesitation to explore alien causes stemmed from a kind of mental rigidity that could block spotting real otherworldly outreach. He noted how the identical analytical tools employed to uncover novel subatomic bits in lab trials could extend to hunting alien artifacts, demanding merely that researchers stay receptive to ideas defying established views. This mindset toward scientific exploration is deeply embedded in Lowe's personal history and professional path. Originating from Israel and educated in theoretical physics, Lowe has delivered major advancements in our knowledge of cosmology, black holes, and the universe's formative stages. His scholarly achievements are outstanding, featuring more than 700 published articles in several esteemed positions, such as establishing and leading Harvard's Black Hole Initiative, and previously heading the institution's astronomy department. This solid scientific standing lends strong legitimacy to Lowe's bold ideas regarding interstellar visitors. In contrast to marginal scholars working beyond conventional academic circles, Lowe voices his views from a foundation of recognized expertise in the field of astronomy. His readiness to jeopardize that standing by endorsing ideas of extraterrestrial origins points to either deep faith in his assessments or exceptional assurance in enduring career backlash. The emergence of 3I at last in July 2025 gave Lowe a chance to apply and hone his methods for spotting possible alien artifacts. Building on insights from the Oumuamua debate, Lowe started examining 3I Atlas by deliberately focusing on traits that could separate man-made items from those formed naturally. His approach merged thorough statistical scrutiny with careful review of other possibilities, sharing results via scholarly outlets and mainstream outlets alike. Lowe's first evaluation of 3 Atlas centered on the identical irregularities that had drawn his interest to Oumuamua. The item's atypical dimensions, exact path, and evident steadiness all pointed to features more typical of a designed scout than haphazard space junk. Yet Lowe advanced beyond that, crafting what he called a thorough model for assessing prospective extraterrestrial tech in the cosmos. Detailed across various Medium blog entries and scholarly drafts, this model sets clear benchmarks for telling apart organic occurrences from likely crafted entities. Core signs encompass unlikely odds in detection scenarios, odd behaviors defying standard interpretations, and path details hinting at deliberate control over mere gravitational pulls. When used on 3I at last, these benchmarks reveal a concerning scenario. The odds of stumbling upon such a sizable interstellar body accidentally are remarkably slim. The item's path matching our solar setup challenges norms for aimlessly flung material. Its seeming steadiness, even with signs of comet-like behavior, implies potential operational control mechanisms. Taken alone, every oddity could stem from rare yet earthly mechanisms. Together, however, they create a design that Lowe claims aligns better with engineered beginnings than mere stellar chance. Still, Lowe's examination goes past mere irregularity spotting to include wider tactical thoughts on possible extraterrestrial scouting. Incorporating ideas from defense intelligence and strategic gaming, he posits that any sophisticated society able to cross stars would likely enter unfamiliar systems with utmost wariness. The cosmos could teem with societies whose motives remain unknowable up front, rendering covert surveying the smartest way to learn about prospective allies or threats. This thinking culminates in what Lowe terms the dark forest view of interstellar traveler actions. Inspired by Liu Cixin's speculative fiction work, the dark forest theory asserts that evolved societies stay concealed since the universe harbors aggressive entities that wipe out any they sense. In such a setting, any an extraterrestrial device might be engineered to imitate ordinary cosmic events, all the while covertly collecting data on prospective planets. The ramifications of this idea are deeply unsettling and far-reaching. Should 3i Atlas embody one of these devices, its objectives would probably encompass a thorough evaluation of our planet's tech advancements, security measures, and susceptibility to different invasion tactics. Its path, which skims past several worlds, offers prime chances for surveillance. Although its seemingly ordinary look reduces chances of being spotted or triggering countermeasures, Lowe has prudently framed these ideas as hypothetical options instead of firm judgments. His scholarly background and career standing require upholding proper doubt in science, despite pushing for exploring unconventional ideas. Yet, in his outreach to the public, especially via online platforms and mainstream talks, he tends to highlight the bolder aspects of his hypotheses. Such an approach has sparked widespread curiosity about 3 Atlas, even as it has heightened backlash from fellow astronomers. Certain experts claim that Lowe's openness to airing unproven ideas in open settings erodes trust in science and fosters confusion over what astronomical studies truly entail. In contrast, some maintain that his visibility in the media sustains support and budgets for cosmic research by linking it to core puzzles about our role in the cosmos. The debate over Lowe's ideas mirrors larger conflicts in the research world regarding how to merge receptive exploration with due caution amid discoveries that could upend established views. Scientific history is rife with cases where groundbreaking concepts faced dismissal from the establishment only to later gain acceptance as true accounts of the universe. At the same time, it abounds with unproven notions that fell apart, no matter the early zeal of their advocates. Assessing Lowe's assertions on 3i at last boils down to separating true breakthroughs from mere fantasies of otherworldly encounters. The odd patterns in data he points out are genuine, backed by various separate studies. The odd traits that baffle him are recognized too, even among those who lean toward standard interpretations. At issue is if these irregularities warrant pondering alien tech or if they merely highlight shortcomings in our grasp of how natural space rocks act. A key hurdle arises from the built-in constraints of sky watching when confronting one-of-a-kind events. In contrast to lab-based fields that allow repeatable and managed tests, watching entities like 3 Atlas can't be redone. It traverses our star system a single time, vanishing without return, leaving just a narrow time frame to gather info before it fades into the vastness of space. This time-bound factor suggests that settling the 3i puzzle through classic research techniques might prove unattainable. The entity could align with forecasts from comet theories or stray in manners hinting at wilder origins. Still, major divergences from norms could stem from undiscovered natural mechanisms instead of man-made design. Lowe concedes these barriers yet insists they bolster the case for cautious strategies over dismissal. Should a slim chance exist that 3 Atlas signals foreign tech, the dangers of overlooking it vastly eclipse those of proceeding with vigilance. From this viewpoint, the onus of evidence ought to prioritize prudence over outright rejection in addressing scenarios that could pose existential threats. This line of philosophical reasoning dovetails with established decision-making models employed in various high-stakes fields, such as national defense, public health initiatives, and environmental safeguards. In situations involving slim chances of occurrence paired with severe potential impacts, prudent decision-makers typically opt to allocate resources toward readiness and countermeasures, regardless of the ambiguity surrounding the actual odds of the event unfolding. The rationale that underpins readiness for infrequent yet catastrophic natural calamities could equally support preparations for hypothetical encounters with extraterrestrial entities. Analysts in military and intelligence circles evaluating the Three-Eye Atlas phenomenon would undoubtedly employ comparable methodologies for gauging risks, whereas researchers in academia might hold out for irrefutable proof before endorsing bold assertions. Those in strategic planning roles are compelled to contemplate dire possibilities and formulate contingency plans, even if such possibilities stay conjectural. The slim chance that Lowe's hypotheses hold truth would necessitate rigorous scrutiny from officials charged with safeguarding national interests. This dynamic sheds light on why Lowe's scholarly background and ties to prestigious organizations hold such sway in policymaking arenas. As a Harvard faculty member and esteemed scholar, he lends an air of legitimacy that would be lacking if comparable ideas were advanced by figures beyond the bounds of conventional scientific establishments. Policymakers assessing prospective dangers can invoke Lowe's authority in standing to rationalize treating his warnings with gravity, notwithstanding pushback from fellow specialists. The global ramifications of Lowe's ideas introduce further layers of intricacy to their bearing on policy. Should Three-Eye Atlas prove to be an extraterrestrial artifact, its objectives would span the entirety of humankind, transcending any one country's borders. An effective reaction would hinge on extraordinary levels of cross-border collaboration, possibly entailing the exchange of classified defense and surveillance assets. Yet Lowe's propositions stem from U.S.-based scholarly circles and have garnered the bulk of scrutiny from American press and authorities. This focal point of apprehension regarding Three-Eye Atlas mirrors wider trends in the dissemination and analysis of scientific findings across diverse national landscapes. Although the core astronomical data is accessible to investigators everywhere, the interpretive models applied to that data can be shaped by societal and organizational variances among nations. Lowe's focus on latent dangers and protective measures strikes a particular chord in U.S. scholarly and governmental spheres, which have historically wrestled with national defense amid global unpredictability. His concepts extend long-standing tactical worries about enigmatic foes and uneven challenges into a broader cosmic realm. In contrast, scholars elsewhere might examine identical data through lenses prioritizing partnership over rivalry or pure inquiry over protective imperatives. Such variances in how unclear events are construed gain heightened importance when they steer official strategies and funding choices. If U.S. defense chiefs deem Lowe's framework compelling enough to assemble top-tier assemblies, even as peers abroad relegate the identical notions to fanciful conjecture, it could yield mismatched country-level reactions to an occurrence potentially impacting everyone on Earth. The shift in Lowe's public image, from venerated scholarly figure to polarizing proponent of extraterrestrial engagement theories, mirrors larger transformations in the landscape of scientific discourse. In today's digital era, conventional approaches to scientific publication and peer evaluation, crafted for niche scholarly groups, often fall short when dealing with findings that carry urgent policy relevance or question core beliefs about humankind's role in the cosmos. Lowe's strategy of leveraging social networks, best-selling volumes, and press appearances to share his hypotheses straight with everyday readers offers a fresh paradigm for science outreach that sidesteps established oversight structures. This method speeds up the sharing of concepts and fosters closer interactions with legislators and ordinary citizens. Yet, It diminishes the rigorous scrutiny usually offered by peer assessment and could foster misinterpretations of intricate scientific ideas. The conflict between these dissemination styles surfaces in the backlash Low encountered from fellow astronomers. Numerous experts contend that his readiness to explore tentative ideas in mainstream venues erodes the methodical, step-by-step method essential to robust scientific inquiry. They fear that widespread excitement over bold scenarios, such as encounters with extraterrestrials, could skew resource allocation and investigative paths, ultimately impeding progress in comprehension rather than boosting it. However, Low responds that standard channels for scientific exchange are ill-equipped to handle breakthroughs with pressing real-world effects on society. Should 3I Atlas truly signify extraterrestrial artifacts, delaying validation through peer review for months or years might forfeit vital chances for readiness or action. The risks of such postponements could warrant tolerating greater chances of inaccuracies or confusion to achieve quicker spread of knowledge. This discussion on optimal tactics for scientific outreach unfolds amid wider societal shifts that have reshaped views on expertise and trustworthiness. The very digital tools that connect scientists directly to mass audiences also amplify falsehoods and speculative narratives that erode faith in research bodies. Within this setting, the line separating valid scientific conjecture from baseless plot theories might blur in everyday conversations. Low's ideas concerning 3 at last hold a liminal spot in this shifting terrain of science dialogue and societal awareness. His scholarly background and meticulous handling of data set his efforts apart from common fringe tales of interstellar visitors. Nevertheless, his openness to radical interpretations and unfiltered outreach to the masses draws rebukes from peers anxious about the wider fallout for research legitimacy. The eventual settling of this discord could hinge on whether 3 Atlas yields conclusive proof supporting or refuting Low's views. If the entity shows unmistakable markers of engineered design or strays sharply from typical comet patterns, Low's openness to otherworldly origins will seem visionary and well-grounded in science. Should it turn out wholly organic notwithstanding its odd traits, his conjectural stance might endure as a cautionary tale of how even seasoned investigators can veer off course amid zeal for sensational outcomes. Yet, irrespective of the final unraveling of the 3I at last enigma, Low's propositions have already started shaping the perspectives of researchers, officials, and laypeople on the prospect of extraterrestrial encounters and the benchmarks for identifying them. His model for assessing prospective manufactured entities in the void delivers a structured pathway to inquiries, once limited to the realm of science fiction, now find firmer ground. By focusing on statistical irregularities and patterns of behavior, his approach provides frameworks that might prove useful for examining potential interstellar travelers in the future. Of particular note, Low's contributions have lent credibility to the idea of exploring alien origins for unusual astronomical events. Ideas that were formerly dismissed to the edges of scientific conversation have, thanks to his scholarly standing and rigorous methods, entered the core of academic debate. The debate over whether this shift signifies beneficial curiosity or risky conjecture hinges on viewpoints that reach well past the instance of 3 Atlas, touching on core issues in scientific exploration and how we ought to address enigmatic cosmic puzzles that upend our grasp of existence. The path taken by 3I at last as it passed through our solar system serves as an exemplary lesson in orbital dynamics. Yet it also narrates a tale that unsettles astronomers and keeps defense strategists awake at night. To grasp the reasons behind the heightened attention to this specific route across the cosmos, it is essential to delve into the core rules dictating motion in gravitational environments and the ways in which 3 Atlas's route seems to defy standard notions of haphazard travel between stars. As an entity journeys from one star system to another, it bears the imprint of its starting point's gravity. The speed and heading given to it upon leaving its native system, along with the pulls from gravity it faces over eons of crossing the void, shape its actions upon reaching a new stellar neighborhood. Simulations crafted by experts at the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy, indicate that most such wanderers ought to enter unfamiliar systems from haphazard angles, tracing paths unrelated to the orbits of planets in those target areas. This outlook rests on solid foundations in the study of star motions and the galaxy's architecture. Ejections driven by gravity from an object's origin system, often via brushes with giant worlds, or companion stars yield paths shaped by the exact setup of that launch. Given that such occurrences happen unpredictably across the Milky Way, without any linkage or signaling among star systems, arrivals of cosmic guests at any given destination should appear wholly unpredictable in direction. 3. I-Atlas defies this key principle in manners that carry deep consequences for interpreting its source and intent. Rather than entering our solar system from a casual angle in the vast three-dimensional expanse, it followed a course nearly exactly aligned with the ecliptic plane, that thin disk where Earth, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter circle the Sun. Various separate study groups have computed the odds of this exact match happening randomly, yielding findings that repeatedly question traditional views on chance events in the universe. Dr. Marco McKay, part of the European Space A's Space Situational Awareness Program, has performed the most thorough path examinations of 3 at last, drawing on observations from earthbound scopes and orbital instruments. His estimates, featured in the monthly notices of the Royal Astronomical Society, put the odds of an arbitrarily launched interstellar body hitting such exact ecliptic precision at about 0.5 or 1 in 2,000. The odds grow even more astonishing, however, upon examining the particular worlds that 3. During its journey across our solar system, the object known as 3I Atlas will pass near several key planets. Instead of a random route that might incidentally approach just 1 or 2 bodies, its course has been meticulously designed to offer the best viewing chances for Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, 3 planets that exemplify distinct categories of celestial environments in our neighborhood. Venus exemplifies the runaway greenhouse effect, featuring surface heat intense enough to liquefy lead and air pressure 90 times that of Earth. Mars stands as a once potentially livable planet that forfeited its dense atmosphere and surface water eons ago. Jupiter embodies the gas giant archetype, enormous bodies mostly made of hydrogen and helium, possibly hosting intricate atmospheric processes and moons suitable for life. From the viewpoint of an imagined extraterrestrial society scouting our system methodically, these planets would yield vital insights into the variety of worlds nearby. Venus would illustrate the perils of unchecked atmospheric warming. Mars would highlight the enduring changes in rocky planets under varying circumstances. Jupiter would highlight the traits of gas giants along with their vast satellite networks. The route positioning 3I Atlas near these emblematic bodies, all while staying aligned with the ecliptic plane, embodies what experts in orbital dynamics term an ideal reconnaissance path. Mission designers for probes are well acquainted with such routes, crafting interplanetary journeys that boost data collection by hitting numerous destinations in one outing. The Voyager probes, sent skyward in the 1970s, pursued comparable multi-planet paths, capitalizing on infrequent alignments to explore Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune over their prolonged grand tour voyages. Yet plotting these orbits demands in-depth awareness of planetary locations, gravity influences, and celestial motion principles. Objects naturally hurled from far-off stars shouldn't exhibit this expertise or such navigational accuracy. The observation that 3I Atlas seems to trace an ideal scouting route through our system prompts troubling inquiries about whether this is mere chance or deliberate intent. Dr. David Fenoya, director of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies, has recognized these oddities in the path while stressing that bold assertions need robust proof. Speaking to Scientific American, Fenoya pointed out that although 3I Atlas's ecliptic positioning is statistically rare, it aligns with outcomes from haphazard events across vast cosmic eras. That said, Fenoya's examination uncovers further path features that deepen the enigma of 3I Atlas. In contrast to ordinary comets, which grow more unpredictable as sun warmth triggers uneven vapor releases from their exteriors, 3I Atlas has shown exceptional steadiness in its forecasted trajectory. This consistency implies either a rare inner makeup that reduces vapor emission impacts or an active system countering typical disturbances. The notion of deliberate path adjustments gains extra weight considering 3I Atlas's schedule and its nearing solar conjunction. Its present direction will position it sunward in late October 2025, resulting in weeks of total invisibility to ground telescopes. This solar eclipse offers an ideal interval for potential route tweaks that might shift its course undetected. Military space experts in surveillance grasp the strategic ramifications of this situation more acutely than the majority of non-military astronomers. Sophisticated monitoring technologies, crafted amid the Cold War era to track satellite paths and missile firings, have shown time and again how minor adjustments to direction, timed precisely, can lead to substantial shifts in ultimate orbits. Even a spacecraft with basic thruster functions might leverage the solar eclipse phase to veer toward our planet, evading detection from Earthbound watchers. The principles of celestial navigation render this prospect especially alarming. Items navigating the core regions of the solar system could harness planetary gravitational slingshots to accelerate or decelerate with little fuel cost. Methods that human probes apply to venture to remote destinations might similarly be utilized by imagined extraterrestrial devices to adjust their paths for undisclosed reasons. 3 Atlas is set to skim near Venus and Mars, offering chances for such gravity-aided adjustments should its course be deliberately guided. Such worries have caught the eye of specialists focused on possible collisions from asteroids and comets with our world. At NASA's Central Planetary Defense Coordination Office, experts keep intricate simulations of diverse path alterations that might steer approaching bodies onto paths crashing into Earth. Although 3I Atlas presently offers no collision risk, slight tweaks to its speed or heading amid the solar occultation could shift that evaluation. Dr. Lindley Johnson, the planetary defense lead at NASA, has stressed in official remarks that 3 at last adheres to a route ensuring it stays far from Earth across its journey in our solar system. Yet her team also holds secret tools for monitoring and scrutinizing risks that surpass what's accessible to non-governmental labs by a wide margin. The full scope of armed forces and spy agency oversight of 3I at last stays hidden from everyday watchers. Where amateur stargazing meets defense-oriented orbital monitoring, thorny issues arise around data exchange and risk evaluation for oddities like 3I Atlas. Telescopes on the ground, run by colleges and global groups, yield in-depth spectral and imaging details on the item's makeup and actions. However, orbital detectors run by defense and intel outfits could spot traits hidden from public gear. This gap in tech prowess grows crucial when probing assertions of possible man-made routes for 3I Atlas. Devices needed to pick up faint hints of built forms or working engines could be restricted inventions out of reach for open science teams. Should proof like that surface, it would probably get dissected via spy networks instead of appearing in scholarly papers, fostering a divide between open debate in science and sealed risk reviews. Past examples of such data silos appear in earlier defense probes into strange sky events. Project Blue Book, along with earlier efforts, proved that state bodies frequently command detection and breakdown tools that outstrip what public experts have for the identical occurrences. Lately, the release of defense run-ins with unknown flying objects via formal Defense Department documents hints at parallel voids in knowledge for weird orbital items. But the path breakdown of 3 at last likewise sparks wider inquiries into how often such events occur and what traits they hold. Interstellar objects that might have slipped past detection in earlier years. Current observational tools, though remarkable compared to past benchmarks, are still confined to those that reach a brightness level capable of activating automated monitoring setups. Dimmer or more compact items could readily traverse our solar system without drawing attention, especially along paths that keep them far from Earth and the primary planets. The Sophisticated Monitoring and Pursuit Initiative for Asteroids and Comets, known as the ASTRA program and run collaboratively by NASA and the Department of Defense, upholds secret inventories of items spotted by defense-related space observation grids. As revealed in testimony before Congress from program leaders, these inventories include thousands of records for items withheld from public view owing to concerns over national security. Certain of these items could be ordinary cosmic events that simply trace orbits of strategic importance. Others could exhibit traits akin to those rendering 3I Atlas a subject of intense debate. The notion that 3I Atlas constitutes not a solitary oddity, but instead the initial openly identified element of a broader group of atypical interstellar travelers, carries deep ramifications for our grasp of cosmic movements and possible alien engagements. Should sophisticated societies regularly launch scouting devices to examine adjacent star systems, our solar system could experience visits far more often than the tally of verified interstellar entities implies. This hypothesis matches conceptual forecasts regarding the actions of evolved technological societies, as outlined by experts in the field of extraterrestrial intelligence detection. Dr. Seth Shostak from the SETI Institute has posited that any society advanced enough for travel between stars would probably carry out methodical examinations of neighboring systems to pinpoint worlds suitable for life and evaluate the progress of any native societies they discover. These examinations would demand intricate probe architectures tailored for covert scouting over blatant signaling to the systems under study. The devices would have to emulate everyday cosmic occurrences to evade notice while collecting in-depth data on planetary features, air makeup, and indicators of tech-based presence. The best approach would entail repeated excursions across prolonged spans to track evolutions and shifts in the observed systems. Viewed through this lens, the distinctive features of 3 Atlas start to outline a logical framework matching cutting-edge scouting tech. Its substantial dimensions might house elaborate sensing instruments and signaling gear. Its exact path would enhance viewing chances while reducing chances of being spotted. Its evident steadiness could indicate operational control mechanisms aimed at sustaining ideal placement across the entire operation. The schedule of 3I at last also fits what one might anticipate from organized extraterrestrial oversight of human society. The object would have initiated its approach to our solar system millennia earlier, during a phase when human tech advancement was gaining speed but hadn't advanced to the stage where it could endanger incoming devices. Its entry in 2025 lines up with humankind's rise as a space-traveling society able to spot and possibly engage interstellar arrivals. If 3I Atlas truly serves as an extraterrestrial device, its operational schedule would demonstrate meticulous strategy grounded in forecasts of human tech evolution. The device would reach us during an era when people possess adequate skywatching skills to notice it, yet prior to the advancement of human space tech sufficient for capture, allowing this schedule to facilitate detailed examination of human abilities, must prioritize the probe's protection and functional integrity. The broader strategic ramifications of this situation go well beyond mere scholarly interest in extraterrestrial societies, touching on core issues of humankind's defense and prospects in a galaxy that might teem with life. Should 3I Atlas signify scouting ahead of closer engagement or interference, its assessments of human tech advancements, defense readiness, and global alliances would yield vital data for subsequent moves. These scenarios could account for the extraordinary Armed Forces Assembly at Quantico in September 2025. Defense Secretary Seth would need to weigh possibilities from benign diplomatic exchanges to hostile incursions by societies whose motives remain unknown beforehand. The thorough scope of that defense summit points to readiness for crises that might threaten worldwide stability and human endurance. Yet the path calculations for 3 Atlas also expose the shortcomings in today's human tools for countering possible cosmic dangers. Even assuming the entity is deliberately piloted, our tech falls short of catching or contacting it as it traverses the solar system. Our top spacecraft would take months or even years to approach paths that could cross with 3I Atlas, and should they manage it, the speeds involved would render any real exchange unfeasible. This disparity in tech underscores our species' exposure to operations by superior societies versed in star-hopping journeys. We can spot and track such intruders, yet we're powerless to counter them or shape their doings in our own stellar domain. Such lopsided strengths would leave human society in a dire position during any clash or talks with off-world arrivals. Acknowledging these weaknesses could warrant the extensive defense strategizing implied by the Quantico Conference. Though immediate action against 3I at last might be out of reach, its arrival could spur innovations in orbital surveillance and countermeasures, potentially vital for handling later intruders. The entity acts as an alert to our scant capacity for watching over and safeguarding our stellar surroundings. The exact calculations needed for the route taken by 3I Atlas grow all the more astonishing amid the intricate three-dimensional challenges of galactic travel. Items launched from remote stellar clusters have to weave through a cosmos cluttered with pulls from countless stars, clumps of dark matter, and the tangled flows of galactic spirals and star flows. That any such item could journey for millions of years across this turbulent realm and hit our solar system with pinpoint accuracy implies either an astonishing fluke of the universe or steering tech of unparalleled ingenuity. Dr. Catherine Zucker from the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics has performed in-depth studies of the galactic conditions 3 Atlas likely navigated on its assumed trip from its home system. Drawing on info from the European Space A's Gaia mission, which charts the spots and shifts of more than 1 billion stars in our galaxy, Zucker's group has pieced together the gravity map that would have shaped the entity's path across vast epochs. Their findings uncover a tangled network of star brushes, arm traversals, and density shifts that ought to have knocked any ordinary interstellar wanderer off course repeatedly en route. The likelihood that an object could sustain the exact speed and path needed for the ecliptic positioning seen in 3I Atlas, all while enduring countless years of gravitational influences, borders on statistical improbability via purely natural means. This discovery has spurred further examination by experts from the International Astronomical Union's Astrometry Commission, who focus on accurate tracking of heavenly bodies' locations and movements. Initial estimates shared at the 2025 General Assembly in Cape Town indicate that upholding the path shown by 30 Second Atlas would demand regular trajectory tweaks with accuracy levels that surpass modern human space engineering by multiple magnitudes. The ramifications go further than mere steering, raising inquiries into the drive mechanisms that could deliver such exactness. Traditional fuel-based thrusters, similar to those in crewed vessels, guzzle vast quantities of propellant and generate traceable plume trails detectable by advanced detectors over vast cosmic spans. Any device able to perform the fine-tuned maneuvers essential for the 3 path would rely on drive methods that function without emitting noticeable byproducts. Potential options encompass electric propulsion fueled by atomic power sources, light sails harnessing photon momentum for thrust, or even speculative systems involving control of gravity or the fabric of space-time. Implementing any of these would necessitate design expertise far ahead of today's human achievements, implying that builders of such devices would hold knowledge well beyond ours. Power demands for journeys between stars introduce yet another dimension to evaluating 3 Atlas as possible extraterrestrial artifacts. Propelling even a small cargo to speeds suitable for feasible star-hopping durations calls for energy on par with a whole year's production from large-scale energy plants. Keeping such voyages going for the millennia needed to arrive at remote stellar destinations would hinge on breakthroughs in power retention or creation of enduring energy setups reliable over eons. Such technical hurdles clarify why conventional stargazers doubt claims of engineered origins for wanderers like 3 from beyond our system. The design demands seem to outstrip expectations for even sophisticated alien societies, especially for scouting ventures that could count as everyday tasks instead of grand endeavors warranting huge commitments. Yet this doubt might stem from our own creative bounds rather than inherent barriers to otherworldly tech evolution. Societies with eons or epochs to refine their knowledge and craftsmanship could devise fixes for star travel puzzles that look hopeless to us now. What feels unattainable in our era could be standard fare for cultures with immensely extended growth periods. Examination of 3I at last course also uncovers fine details that emerge solely from prolonged monitoring and intricate simulations. In contrast to the straightforward oval or open curves traced by typical intersolar items, the path of 3 Atlas across the void shows intricate shifts hinting at continuous fine-tuning to maximize its viewing prospects. These tweaks stand out most evidently in the item's alignment compared to... As the object journeys through our solar system, interacting with the sun and planets, it deviates from the stable orientation seen in ordinary comets or asteroids. Instead, 3 at last seems to spin in a manner that regularly directs various parts of its exterior toward the largest planets at their nearest encounters. This pattern would suit a spacecraft fitted with targeted instruments aimed at collecting in-depth data on each planet it passes. Dr. Alan Fitzsimmons from Queen's University Belfast, heading the European group performing spectral examinations of 3I at last, has recorded these shifts in alignment by meticulously tracking fluctuations in the object's luminosity across time. While typical comets show light changes tied to their uneven forms and spin cycles, the rhythms detected in 3I at last point to more intricate dynamics, possibly hinting at deliberate orientation adjustments. The spectral readings gathered by Fitzsimmons and his team further uncover irregularities in the substances venting from 3 Atlas near the Sun. Although early findings of water vapor and carbon dioxide aligned with viewing it as an ordinary comet, deeper scrutiny has spotted minor amounts of elements and molecules hard to account for via standard comet-building mechanisms. Among these unusual substances are isotopic proportions of everyday elements that diverge from patterns in solar system comets and meteorites. These variances could stem from origins in star systems shaped by distinct atomic reactions compared to our own. Alternatively, they might signal engineered substances crafted to imitate comet makeup, fulfilling hidden tech roles undetectable from afar. The prospect of advanced disguise complicates efforts to conclusively determine 3's true character. An interstellar-capable society would probably command nanoengineering and materials expertise to fabricate mimics nearly identical to cosmic bodies. Outer layers engineered to replicate comet chemistry might mask elaborate inner designs, all while emitting spectral signals matching natural sources. This scenario has spurred the creation of innovative detection tools tailored to spot faint traces of man-made traits overlooked by standard astro observation. The Very Large Telescope in Chile now features test polarimetric cameras capable of identifying light reflection motifs suggestive of fabricated exteriors. Global radio arrays have been set to scan for faint radio signals that could expose embedded active circuitry inside the body. To date, these focused hunts have yielded inconclusive outcomes, failing to verify or dismiss an artificial source for 3A Atlas. The entity lingers just beyond the grasp of cutting-edge detection, yielding data interpretable as either organic or constructed based on the interpretive frameworks applied. Such interpretive vagueness highlights the constraints of distant probing when confronting possibly refined extraterrestrial devices. Stealthy survey craft would inherently include defenses against the sensing approaches anticipated from the societies under scrutiny. To earthly watchers, what looks like a routine comet could embody masterful deception over authentic astronomy. This observer versus subject duel infuses tactical layers into the scholarly probing of 3 Atlas. Should this object truly be an extraterrestrial probe, its creators would have foreseen that sophisticated societies and destination star systems could one day acquire tools for in-depth distant examination. The probe's construction would include elements deliberately crafted to thwart such scrutiny, all while sustaining the appearance of a commonplace natural body. These detection hurdles go further than mere technological limits, touching on core issues and deciphering unclear information amid possibly misleading occurrences. Conventional research approaches presume that the subjects under investigation are inert natural entities that disclose their essential traits via meticulous scrutiny. Yet, engineered devices built for evasion could deliberately deceive watchers, generating misleading information to foster erroneous judgments regarding their essence and function. Such knowledge-related obstacles underscore the wider obstacles in pursuing signs of alien intelligence through techniques honed for natural occurrences. The very methods that succeed admirably in probing stars, worlds, and authentic comets may fall short when confronting tech engineered to elude spotting and dissection by foreign societies. As 3I pursues its meticulously plotted route into the heart of the solar system, the inquiries sparked by its path evaluation grow ever more pressing and intricate. The ideal scouting route it adheres to, the unlikely odds of its detection, the advanced steering needed to sustain that accuracy, and the calculated moment of its sun-blocking alignment all form a configuration that questions our beliefs about haphazard space events. Whether this configuration signals remarkable chance, unfamiliar natural mechanisms, or intentional strategy from a mind vastly superior to ours, could shape not only our grasp of this specific intruder, but our whole strategy for space defense and the chance that we coexist in our galaxy with societies whose skills and motives stay deeply enigmatic. In the shadowy realms of speculative physics and alien life studies, a chilling idea has gained traction, one that reshapes our view of why the galaxy seems so hauntingly quiet, even with billions of worlds that could harbor life. This notion, called the dark forest hypothesis, posits that the cosmos functions not as a friendly interstellar network, but as a hunting ground where societies lurk in dread from predators whose powers and aims are unknowable. If 3 at last marks our initial brush with tech from such a cosmos, then humankind might have just blundered into the deadliest contest in cosmic annals. The dark forest idea sprang from the inventive thoughts of Chinese sci-fi writer Liu Cixin, whose 3-body trilogy delved into the ruinous outcomes of initial meetings between societies with hugely divergent abilities and ethical systems. Yet, what started as imaginative storytelling has lately drawn the focus of earnest scholars wrestling with the Fermi paradox, the baffling clash between the strong likelihood of alien life and the total lack of observable foreign societies. The numbers are blunt and inescapable. Our galaxy holds roughly 400 billion stars, and findings from the Kepler Space Telescope, along with other world-seeking endeavors, imply that solid planets in life-friendly zones are routine across the universe. Even cautious projections suggest that millions of planets in our galaxy by itself ought to sustain life in ways we recognize. Considering the cosmos's antiquity and the swift advance of tech progress, as evidenced by the progress of human society, numerous planets ought to have spawned interstellar civilizations eons ago, potentially millions or billions of years in the past. Despite generations of ever more refined efforts to uncover signs of extraterrestrial life, we have yet to pick up any verified transmissions from alien societies, spot any massive construction endeavors, or observe clear indicators of voyages or settlements across the stars. Scientists call this profound quiet, the great silence, and it calls for some kind of resolution. We might simply be isolated in an immense barren cosmos, or potent factors could be suppressing the discovery of extraterrestrial societies that undoubtedly thrive out there. The dark forest hypothesis provides one of the most unsettling accounts for this interstellar hush. Per this idea, sophisticated civilizations stay concealed not due to shortcomings in their capacity for cosmic messaging or exploration, but because the galaxy harbors aggressive entities that methodically wipe out any group they sense. In this setup, broadcasting your position via electromagnetic signals or other traceable actions is tantamount to dooming your kind. The reasoning behind the dark forest model is starkly straightforward. When societies clash over cosmic expanses, neither can reliably gauge the other's motives. Even signals that seem benign could mask treachery, crafted to drop guards before a ruinous assault. The very tech needed for star hopping also allows building armaments capable of scouring planets clean from afar. Lacking solid intel on foreign aims, the most prudent tactic for any society could involve preemptively attacking and sorting out details afterward. This wary reasoning gains even greater weight when factoring in the explosive pace of tech evolution. A group securing just a slight edge in advancement over rivals might swiftly convert it into total command. Breakthroughs in nanoscale engineering, machine learning, or unconventional science could spark swift duplication and growth so fast that slower peers couldn't react. The gap from tech equilibrium to outright supremacy might span mere decades or centuries, not eons. In this context, the galaxy could teem with societies trapped in an endless standoff, each wary of exposure yet vigilantly scanning for dangers. Evolved beings would refine their sensing tools to razor sharpness while pouring vast efforts into evasion and camouflage. The outcome: a stellar realm brimming with covert observers, hesitant to act first, but primed to unleash catastrophic retaliation against any spotted peril. Dr. Robin Hanson from George Mason University, who has delved deeply into fixes for the Fermi paradox, portrays the dark forest as a galactic-scale prisoner's dilemma. Societies may yearn for harmonious relations and gains from commerce and shared heritage, yet the challenge of confirming benign motives from remote others, paired with the dire fallout of errors, breeds dynamics that push for bold strikes rather than patient dialogue. Lately, strides in physics theory and defense innovations render the dark forest notion more credible on technical grounds alone. Progress on speed-of-light armaments such as relativistic impactors and focused beam weapons shows how even a basic tech lead could let one society deliver planet-ending dangers over star-spanning voids. A society advanced enough to propel objects at substantial portions of the speed of light could unleash catastrophic kinetic strikes on far-off planets, leaving scant time for any countermeasures. Though the power demands for these armaments seem staggering, compared to today's human capabilities, they could well be everyday uses of energy production methods common to highly evolved space-traveling societies. A Dyson sphere or comparable star-harnessing endeavor might supply the necessary power to fire off such high-velocity projectiles at numerous or even scores of enemy star systems all at once. To a truly sophisticated culture, wiping out whole stellar neighborhoods might demand little more exertion than what contemporary armed forces put into standard aerial assaults. These feasible technologies shift the dark forest theory from mere imaginative tale to a credible model for grasping the tactical forces that could shape interactions across the stars. Should the galaxy function under these rules, any visible trace of a tech-savvy society turns into a prime candidate for proactive destruction. Broadcast transmissions, atmospheric contaminants, massive construction initiatives, and voyages through space all spell potential doom for the beings who produce them. When examined via this grim woodland viewpoint, the significance of entities like 3 Atlas grows deeply unsettling. If lurking aggressive societies populate the galaxy, every cosmic traveler warrants scrutiny not merely as a bearer of knowledge, but as a potential harbinger scout ahead of bolder incursions. The intricate path management and seeming invisibility features implied by 3 Atlas match exactly the traits one would anticipate from elite exploratory operations aimed at gauging the strengths and weaknesses of prospective prey societies. Dr. Stuart Armstrong from the Future of Humanity Institute at Oxford University has crafted intricate simulations of how dark forest mechanics could affect the creation and use of interstellar scouting devices. In his study featured in the Journal of Astrobiology, he posits that ideal scout configurations would emphasize concealment and data collection above overt signaling or blatant tech markers. These devices would be engineered to resemble ordinary cosmic events while performing thorough scans of destination systems and their native populations. In dark forest scouting efforts, the emphasis would lie on armament prowess and tech advancements rather than societal or scholarly traits. An antagonistic society would seek to determine if the quarry boasts superior armaments, orbital safeguards, or sensing tools that could jeopardize follow-up assaults. The scout would likewise gauge the cohesion and alliance strength among target groups, pinpointing fissures that invaders might leverage in takeover or domination efforts. Through this lens, the road of 3 Atlas across our solar realm assumes a foreboding tactical weight. Its course affords prime vantage points for evaluating humanity's tech progress, armed forces, and orbital setups. The near passes by Venus, Mars, and Jupiter would allow in-depth scrutiny of our space ventures and conceivable protective outposts. The alignment of its sun-eclipsing phase opens doors for secretly placing tinier watchers that might persist in tracking human doings well beyond the primary device's exit. The chance that 3I Atlas signals the initial step in a dark forest gambit hasn't eluded experts probing threats to humankind's survival. The Center for the Study of Existential Risk at Cambridge University has delivered confidential presentations to government and procurement authorities regarding the ramifications of possible adversarial extraterrestrial encounters, employing game theory and tactical evaluations to simulate various reaction strategies. Their initial findings indicate that humankind would confront untenable dilemmas upon verifying signs of alien scouting activities. Publicly admitting the existence of extraterrestrials could spark widespread hysteria and societal breakdown, eroding the global unity essential for robust protection efforts. Yet, dismissing the danger or mounting a feeble counter could leave us blindsided by subsequent hostile maneuvers. The interplay of strategies outlined in dark forest theory generates situations where every available course of action holds slim chances for our species' endurance. These sobering assessments shed light on the extraordinary armed forces mobilization observed at the September 2025 assembly in Quantico. Should Defense Secretary Hecht and his team possess restricted evaluations implying that 3 Atlas signals hostile probing, then thorough armed readiness turns from advisable to vital for preserving humanity. The breadth and confidentiality of that conference correspond to gearing up for contingencies that threaten not merely U.S. safety, but the destiny of human society at large. The dark forest model further illuminates the escalating veil of official reticence and armed forces focus on unidentified aerial occurrences that have surfaced lately. Should spy networks have spotted numerous irregular entities or patterns aligning with deliberate extraterrestrial monitoring, the unified actions hinted at in latest Defense Department revelations carry logical weight. Seeming upticks in candor about UFO incidents could in truth signal efforts to condition societal views for disclosures on far graver perils. Nevertheless, the dark forest proposition implies that any viable counter to prospective extraterrestrial dangers would necessitate abilities vastly surpassing those held by our current society. Spotting and monitoring covert scouting devices would call for sensing tools and information processing prowess that outstrip existing defense setups by leaps and bounds. Safeguards against high-speed projectiles or sophisticated alien innovations would hinge on scientific leaps potentially spanning decades or ages. This disparity in tech fosters what tacticians term a phase of exposure, wherein our kind stays fundamentally exposed to superior extraterrestrial hazards. The swift progress in our tech that heightens our visibility also renders us a more enticing mark for societies aiming to neutralize budding rivals prior to their rise. That interval from becoming noticeable to gaining protective strength may mark the riskiest stretch in any society's evolution. Dr. Nick Bostonram, head of the Future of Humanity Institute, contends that this exposure phase accounts for why the dark forest outlook could prove even more common than Lou Scheichen first proposed. Societies enduring their fragile stages would probably achieve it solely by eradicating other life forms before those could forge perilous strengths. The cosmos could be ruled not only by cloaked societies, but by those validating their viability via triumphant extermination drives against adjacent worlds. Viewed this way, the seeming lack of observable extraterrestrial societies serves as proof not of their absence, but of their adept adjustment to a savage cosmic arena. The societies beyond our reach are exactly those excelling in the skills of hiding and anticipatory action. The notion of a dark forest universe implies that survival demands ruthless elimination of any detectable threats. Civilizations we might spot with today's tools are likely already extinct, wiped out by stealthier hunters lurking in greater obscurity. The mental toll of pondering such dark forest hypotheses is as unsettling as their tactical aspects. Humanity has evolved with the belief that the cosmos follows rules of logical collaboration and shared gains. Our knowledge systems, arts, and ethics presume that smart entities would mostly choose harmony over ruinous clashes. The idea that sentience could inherently lean toward hunting undermines core ideas about awareness and ethical growth. Still, Darwinian principles show how rivalry and predation have fueled the intricate diversity seen in Earth's ecosystems. Those very forces of selection that birthed our smarts also spawned myriad cases of exploitation, hunting, and ousting rivals in the scramble for scarce supplies. Scaling these patterns to cosmic distances may not be some oddity, but simply what happens when minds arise in worlds short on resources. Dark forest ideas are starting to shape debates in theology on our role in the grand cosmic tale. If the stars hide cunning hunter societies, then old notions of godly care and a kind universal design need a total overhaul. Certain thinkers propose that these forest-like rules could be a stellar trial, pushing societies to master cutting-edge tech alongside ethical insight to endure run-ins with shadier foes. Yet some contend that such setups clash with any real sense of universal meaning or heavenly direction. A reality where minds drift toward self-annihilation flies in the face of core faiths that celebrate goodness prevailing over malice. The chance that our society stands as a lone outpost of ethics amid a sea of stellar hunters sparks deep queries into the essence and aim of sentience. These intellectual hurdles sharpen when we weigh humanity's possible reactions if dark forest rules truly shape interstellar ties. Do we pour efforts into crafting superior arms and hiding tech to thrive in a savage cosmic arena, or stick to our path of serene cosmic ventures and global unity, betting that our model could nudge any extraterrestrial watchers toward better conduct? The tactical puzzle grows thornier if our countermeasures to forest perils end up sparking the very assaults we dread. Overt buildup for otherworldly encounters might look like aggression to observers, prompting them to strike first against us. On the flip side, skipping robust safeguards could tempt hunters who see undefended worlds as prime prey. The decision models from game theory and dark forest settings yield no simple fixes for these binds. The best approach hinges on guesses about rivals' motives and strengths, details forever out of reach over vast voids. Even sophisticated extraterrestrials would grapple with the same fog regarding our aims and trajectory, forging balanced setups that breed reciprocal suspicion and the risk of conflict. As the 3i probe finally presses onward through our solar system, it bears the chilling prospect that a vastly superior intelligence might be methodically assessing us, turning the dark forest hypothesis from mere philosophical conjecture into a pressing real-world dilemma. Should this interstellar intruder serve as a scout from a society advanced enough for voyages between stars, its scrutiny of our technological achievements, defense readiness, and global alliances could dictate if humanity endures for ages or crumbles in mere years. The dwindling weeks until 3i vanishes behind the sun could mark humanity's final chance to showcase traits that set us apart from the interstellar hunters. The dark forest hypothesis posits as rulers of our galaxy. Such traits be they innovative mastery, ethical insight, or adept stealth might not only secure our existence, but affirm our place in any alliance of worlds that has mastered surviving a cosmos where intellect and danger are intertwined. Buried in the Pentagon's shadowy, uncharted halls, defense experts have labored for years crafting strategies for situations that echo speculative fiction yet pose abrupt threats to our way of life. These backup measures, identified solely by obscure designations and secrecy tiers, surpassing even atomic conflict blueprints, grapple with the core puzzle that has troubled commanders since space exploration began. How can a world-bound society brace for encounter with star-spanning minds? The setup for handling possible alien dangers has shifted markedly from Project Blue Book's era, the Air Force initiative probing unidentified flying objects from 1952 to 1969. Though Blue Book ended with findings that most sightings stemmed from earthly causes or mistakes in viewing, fears of otherworldly interaction lingered in secure defense files. Rather than fade, they shifted to covert operations managed by groups whose roles governments routinely disavowed. Today's structure for tackling anomalous cosmic events revolves around the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, launched in 2022 to follow prior initiatives that ran under shifting labels and setups from the 1970s onward. ARO serves as the visible arm of official probes into baffling sky incidents, yet its scope reaches deeper, including thorough reviews of risks from off-world entities. Per leaks secure documents via legislative reviews, ARO proceeds on the premise that verified signs of alien tech would instantly activate top-tier security measures. It holds steady ties to the National Security Council, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and elite forces prepped for swift rollout of cutting-edge detection gear and initial engagement guidelines. Yet the true hub for devising responses to alien encounters hides not in ARO's open spaces, but in fortified bunkers safeguarding America's core defense assets. The Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado, renowned as the central hub for NORAD's missile alert operations, also houses advanced evaluation units focused on monitoring and assessing items that exhibit traits not aligning with established human engineering or typical cosmic events. These installations function under protection levels that surpass even the stringent safeguards for atomic armament initiatives, underscoring the far-reaching consequences that verified extraterrestrial engagement could unleash on worldwide governance and societal harmony. Personnel stationed in these subterranean outposts endure rigorous mental evaluations to pinpoint those who can sustain peak performance amid revelations that upend core beliefs about humankind's role amid the stars. Dr. Hal Puthoff, a physicist specializing in theory who has advised multiple federal bodies on cutting-edge flight systems, has outlined the entrenched perspective shaping armed forces strategies for possible otherworldly encounters. In a restricted session for legislative aides, Puthoff noted that defense protocols proceed from the premise that any extraterrestrial society advanced enough for star-spanning voyages would command tech prowess, potentially endangering all of human society irrespective of motives. This risk evaluation model steers defense strategies toward situations emphasizing swift identification and assessment of prospective alien devices, then swift referral to top-tier executive circles. The guidelines presume that viable reaction periods to otherworldly approaches might span mere hours or days, not weeks or longer, thus necessitating ready deployed resources and pre-cleared action powers that sidestep standard administrative hurdles. The expertise needed to spot and scrutinize possible alien innovations has spurred years of funding into superior detection gear and processing methods that outstrip what's accessible to non-military academic groups. The Orbital Infrared Network, primarily built to spot missile firings, further includes tools for following entities with odd heat patterns or movement styles, suggestive of manufactured design. Likewise, the far-reaching Orbital Oversight Array, mainly tasked with cataloging man-made orbiters and orbital junk, harbors secret functions for picking up items at ranges stretching well past our planet's gravitational pull. This setup can spot and detail pieces as tiny as 10 cm across its spans nearing Jupiter's path, offering advance alerts on cosmic intruders well before public stargazing efforts catch them. Over recent decades, these defense orbital watch systems have picked up countless anomalies whose features defy standard explanations, from routine space occurrences or recognized earthly inventions. Reports to parliamentary oversight panels reveal that the secure archives from these watch networks hold thousands of records for enigmas that persist unsolved after thorough reviews by expert squads. Such unresolved sightings have fueled the creation of ever more refined evaluation models aimed at separating routine space events, undisclosed earthly tech, and conceivable alien relics. The computational approaches employed here incorporate probabilistic tools from spy work, waveform handling borrowed from telecom studies, and anomaly detection routines that reveal faint markers of engineered intent hidden from unaided sight. In cases involving entities such as 30 at last, These evaluation models, findings from these investigations, stay under wraps, yet they are said to have shaped key policy talks at the highest levels regarding how governments should react to possible extraterrestrial scouting missions. As amateur stargazers argue over the odds tied to the item's odd traits, defense experts work with privileged readings from detectors and simulation tools that could yield clearer insights into what it really is. Blending everyday sky-watching insights with secret armed forces, readings poses tough hurdles for swapping info and making choices amid game-changing finds. Those very scopes and study centers offering open info on 3 Atlas feed into hidden review efforts that might draw starkly contrasting views on where the item comes from and what it means. Such a two-pronged method for probing possible otherworldly events highlights the core clash between open science and the demands of protecting the nation. Everyday scientists need free entry to facts and group checks from peers to do solid research. However, defense reviewers have to guard confidential details on spotting tools and risk evaluation methods that foes could turn against us if let out. What emerges is a tangled web of selective fact-passing, in which everyday scientists might unwittingly supply bits that aid secret reviews of dangers that could upend all of humanity. The sky-watching notes on 3I at last that appear in vetted academic papers make up just a sliver of the full picture, held by state reviewers gauging the item's weight for country and worldwide safety. Rules for armed forces' reactions to verified otherworldly outreach have been honed over years of mock battles and what-if drills, which rank as some of the tightest-kept secrets in the U.S. military machine. These drills, tagged with shifting secret labels to keep things secure, pull in top brass from the services, spy agency heads, and non-military pros spanning everything from alien life studies to strategy math. The setups tested in these drills cover a broad array of alien encounter types, spanning friendly talks to outright armed clashes. Still, based on broad comments from those involved, the strategies always stress quick ramps to all-out armed forces action, no matter what the space visitors seem to want. This focus on readiness isn't born from fear or hostility, but from the huge gaps in power and skills that any meeting between our world and star-hopping outsiders would involve. Even seemingly friendly space arrivals would hold tech that could wreak havoc in combat if they turned sour. The know-how to hop between stars points to control over power sources, stuff engineering, and drive systems that might get turned into doomsday tools against whole worlds. The number crunching in these defense drills shows how such tech gaps lead to setups where old ideas of holding off threats or stepping up slowly lose all sense. Any star-faring society that could get to our planet would probably have the means to wipe clean its face or trash our tech backbone, no matter what shields we put up. In those setups, the main point of armed forces readiness isn't to scare off space attacks, but to show off what our tech can do. This strategic rationale sheds light on the extraordinary character of the September 2025 military assembly at Quantico. Should evaluations of the 3 Atlas yield secret reports indicating an artificial source, then thorough military preparations would prove vital, not merely for defense purposes, but to guarantee that humanity's reactions to extraterrestrial encounters demonstrate suitable degrees of technological expertise and structural readiness. Choosing top-ranking military personnel for these sessions would involve deliberate attention to mental resilience alongside practical needs. Handling verified extraterrestrial interaction demands commanders who can uphold logical judgment amid data that upends core views of existence. Those summoned to Quantico would have been picked for their proven competence in handling intense pressure amid entirely novel situations. The organizational hurdles of convening numerous high-level officers from worldwide assignments underscore the urgency attached to the details revealed at the event. Withdrawing leaders from ongoing battlefields and key bases entails tactical hazards tolerable only for issues of utmost gravity. Such readiness to embrace those hazards implies the sessions cover prospects that could influence worldwide safety, beyond mere local defense matters. Opting for Quantico as the site balances protective protocols with emblematic elements crucial for bolstering esprit de corps and assurance within elite command ranks. As a Marine Corps installation, it supplies protected spaces for dialogues on the most sensitive secrets, while evoking legacies of martial prowess and heritage that could serve as mental stabilizers for personnel confronting transformative insights into our place in the universe. The agenda and format of the Quantico session would have been meticulously designed to deliver in-depth overviews without overwhelming attendees through abrupt immersion in details of possible otherworldly dangers. Since the dawn of the atomic era, armed forces specialists in psychology have examined the effects of worldview-altering knowledge, crafting methods to aid service members in assimilating fresh perspectives on survival risks while preserving mission capability. These approaches gain extra weight in contexts of prospective extraterrestrial engagement, as such disclosures impact not only tactical doctrines but also deep-seated notions of human worth and universal role. Commanders accustomed to earthly power plays and standard warfare dangers would need to swiftly recalibrate for dealings with entities whose skills and intentions might defy human comprehension altogether. Materials for these sessions would merge empirical breakdowns of gathered data with evaluations of countermeasure choices and their probable outcomes. Attendees would gain in-depth knowledge on surveillance tools, identification protocols, and interpretive approaches applied to anomalous celestial events. Yet they would also undergo instruction in the mental and communal forces that might influence troop performance amid genuine extraterrestrial encounters. The global aspects of such interactions add layers of intricacy to defense strategies, since established ideas of state autonomy lose relevance against perils that transcend borders. On scales encompassing planets or entire solar systems, any verified proof of intelligence from beyond Earth would demand extraordinary degrees of global collaboration, even as it sparks rivalries among countries vying for edges from possible extraterrestrial innovations. Defense strategists ought to gear up for situations in which details of such encounters disseminate swiftly via worldwide spy networks, possibly igniting diplomatic upheavals as governments insist on entry to secret evaluations or warn of solo initiatives if sidelined from strategy formulation. The very pacts for exchanging data that enable teamwork against earthly dangers might turn into flashpoints of discord when dealing with prospects of otherworldly encounters. Moreover, the fiscal ramifications of validated alien interaction would necessitate attention from the armed forces, given that the societal upheaval from such disclosures could undermine the assets and societal backing essential for robust security measures. Stock exchanges, faith-based organizations, and societal frameworks honed across ages of human progress might falter in grappling with knowledge of superior extraterrestrial societies. Defense backup strategies for these fiscal and societal facets of alien engagement entail partnering with non-military bodies tasked with crisis handling, financial steadying, and community outreach. Yet the success of these partnerships hinges on whether non-military entities are ready to recognize and gear up for possibilities that many policymakers dismiss as mere fantasy instead of genuine governance issues. The innovation initiatives triggered by solid indications of alien scouting would rank among the grandest scientific and technical endeavors ever envisioned by humankind. Spotting cutting-edge alien tech would warrant huge outlays for deconstructing and deciphering extraterrestrial knowledge bases, then tailoring them to bolster human security uses. However, these innovation drives would also call for sweeping shifts in the structure and financing of research efforts. Since established scholarly and business research setups might fall short for the swift progress needed against alien perils, defense innovation and prototyping would have to merge talents from academia, corporate sectors, and global allies, all while upholding safeguards to shield vital data from conceivable alien monitoring. The personnel demands for a solid armed forces reaction to alien encounter cases stretch well past standard service roles, pulling in specialists from areas like quantum mechanics to alien life studies. The leadership ranks would demand quick growth and reskilling to tackle dangers and prospects without historical parallels in warfare. Training centers would need sweeping syllabus overhauls to equip upcoming defense commanders for interstellar strategy, not just ground-based tactics. As 3-2 at last keeps edging closer to the solar system's core, the defense procedures crafted through years of secret strategizing could encounter their initial practical test. The path of the entity toward eclipse by the sun sets an inherent cutoff for data collection and readiness, since any path adjustments made in the periods it's obscured by the star might drastically reshape the outlook for humanity's future. Choices by defense chiefs in this pivotal phase could shape not only the short-term handling of 3-2 at last, but the whole structure, guiding humankind's shifting from a merely planetary viewpoint to a genuinely cosmic one could redefine everything. This change might happen via smooth assimilation into a friendly interstellar society, or via frantic resistance to aggressive extraterrestrial invaders, hinging on the insight and efficiency of the defense strategies currently mobilizing amid our species' initial possible brush with extraterrestrial minds. The sequence linking the finding of 3I Atlas to the extraordinary assembly of forces at Quantico uncovers a trajectory of mounting alarm and secretive deliberations that turns what seemed like standard stargazing into the initial steps of our greatest tactical dilemma. To grasp how these developments played out amid layers of official concealment, it's essential to follow the path of data from observatory readings via intel reviews up to the top tiers of armed forces and governmental choices. The first spotting of 3I Atlas on July 1, 2025, set off automatic alert mechanisms reaching well past amateur skywatchers. The Atlas survey scope that spotted it runs on grants from NASA involving info exchange rules with numerous state bodies, such as the Pentagon's Orbital Monitoring Grid and assorted spy units focused on spotting risks to U.S. safety. Just a few hours after the early alert, basic path estimates done by the Minor Planet Center at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics pegged 3I Atlas as a likely visitor from outside our solar system, thanks to its escape velocity path. This label instantly sparked deeper checks from defense orbital trackers, which started pulling in precise data via detection tools off-limits to public science groups. Blending everyday and armed services sightings in the opening days of July yielded a full picture, exposing odd traits that would spark major debates down the line. As Open Sky reports highlight the third verified outsider from deep space, secret reviews by the Air Force Technical Application Center spotted odd patterns in the item's path, light fluctuations, and light spectrum marks calling for more probing. Dr. Patricia Robertson, ex-head of the Defense Intelligence Agency's Missile and Space Intelligence Center, has outlined the method that turns everyday star scans into possible defense issues. In remarks at a secure gathering on orbital dangers, Robertson explained that quirky finds from public scopes get methodical checks using risk evaluation models crafted to detect signs of unfamiliar tech or enemy actions. These models merge number crunching, trend spotting, and what-if simulations to gauge if spotted events fit normal space happenings or show signs of man-made sources. The approach draws on vast archives of recognized natural occurrences, earthly tech limits, and ideas about possible alien inventions. When used on 3I Atlas in July and August 2025, this review apparently bumped the item from simple research interest to a possible tactical worry. Though the exact findings stay under wraps, statements from spy leaders in Congress suggest the item shows several features hard to square with standard. The growing awareness of natural interstellar events played a key role. The rising worries surrounding 3-thin at last aligned with wider shifts in how governments handled unexplained aerial occurrences, a trend gaining steam since the 2021 Pentagon report on unidentified aerial phenomena. Setting up the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office and boosting congressional scrutiny of UAP probes had built solid structures for treating odd sightings with greater gravity than in past years. This evolving official environment ensured that the peculiar traits spotted in 3I at last got more thorough review from intel and defense experts than would have happened before. Instead of brushing off irregularities as mistakes in viewing or unexplained natural events, updated guidelines demanded full probes and risk evaluations, even if standard answers were still on the table. The sequence of mounting alarm shows up in the series of extra data requests from multiple government bodies in August and September 2025. The Hubble Space Telescope, originally lined up for standard upkeep at that time, got reassigned to perform in-depth scans of 3I at last, with tools fine-tuned for spotting man-made forms or odd material traits. Likewise, the James Webb Space Telescope committed substantial slots to spectral breakdowns of 3I Atlas. Even with heavy pulls from the public astronomy sector for time on this top-tier orbital scope, dedicating such elite viewing assets to one target highlights a top-tier urgency that goes way past routine curiosity about cosmic wanderers. Bringing in spy outfits to guide astro observations marks a major break from the usual lines separating public research and security ops. In the past, NASA-run orbital scopes and similar non-military groups stayed clear of intel gathering to safeguard their research standing and global partnerships. Weaving 3I Atlas sightings into spy work points to the item's features, warranting exceptional steps that bypass typical agency divides. Such blending would need sign-off from top government brass, showing that fears over the item's makeup hit high-level cabinet talks by the end of August 2025. The global angles of 3I Atlas tracking bring extra layers to how officials reacted over time. As U.S. groups ran deep dives with secret tech, partner countries boasting cutting-edge orbital monitoring were grabbing their own info on it at the same time. Syncing global intel swaps on 3.2 at last would demand elite diplomatic chats to weigh openness against mission safety needs. Reports say European Space Agency looks at 3I at last, via their ground and orbital sensor array, picked up some of the identical oddities flagged by U.S. spy pros. Yet views on these oddities differed across national spy units, with certain European outfits doubting claims of possible man-made routes. These cross-border gaps in risk judgments added more strain on U.S. leaders to build their own action tools instead of banking on global teamwork that could fall short. Unreliable or insufficient measures in a genuine emergency could prove problematic. The military conference held in September at Quantico was probably intended to confirm that U.S. Armed Forces commanders were equipped for independent operations in case global partnerships fell short. The space monitoring network run by the People's Liberation Army Strategic Support Force in China has stayed officially quiet on 3 Atlas sightings, yet it ramped up its tracking efforts for celestial bodies from space after the July find. Intelligence evaluations indicate that experts in China have drawn insights about 3 Atlas that shape their defense initiatives in orbit, which might spark rivalry among global powers in handling possible otherworldly events. Although Russia's orbital tracking resources lag behind those of the U.S. and China, they too have focused on 3I Atlas sightings. Based on communications captured and reviewed by Western spy networks, Moscow's approach seems to prioritize building protective tools deployable against conceivable extraterrestrial dangers, diverging from the negotiation or research-focused tactics preferred by certain experts in the West. The rise of varied country-specific reactions to 3 at last in August and September 2025 added pressing demands to U.S. defense strategies, as disjointed global efforts might disrupt ideal countermeasures or accidentally provoke reactions from hypothetical alien watchers. Coordinating or at minimum predicting reactions from partners and opponents to encounters with extraterrestrials poses a fresh dilemma in global diplomacy, lacking any past examples. Back home, the escalating official worries over 3I at last also shaped the schedule for defense preparations. Oversight panels in Congress started getting secret updates on the entity by late August, building momentum for noticeable official steps that showed due regard for possible threats to security without stirring widespread fear of invasions from space. Juggling demands for legislative review with the imperatives of mission secrecy around 3UN at last posed intricate issues for leaders in the administration responsible for overseeing the official handling. Delivering enough details to ease worries in Congress while safeguarding vital intel assets and techniques demands precise handling, growing tougher as the stakes of such findings escalate. The choice of September 25th for the Quantico session seems chosen to maximize opportunities for intel review while ensuring solid readiness prior to 3 Atlas vanishing behind the sun in late October. This schedule implies that defense strategists aim to wrap up full risk evaluations and action outlines before the object's solar conjunction cut off visibility. The period from the July detection to the September assembly would have involved rigorous examination leveraging top-tier detection tools and expertise from U.S. spy outfits. Such work would integrate data from diverse orbital and terrestrial detectors, alongside simulations of advanced extraterrestrial tech and evaluations of response options. Though kept under wraps, the outcomes evidently warranted assembling the broadest assembly of defense chiefs in recent U.S. annals. The breadth of the session points to discussions covering situations with ramifications stretching well past standard security issues. This scope would extend to possible dangers facing human society as a whole. For military commanders, the mental readiness needed to absorb details on prospective extraterrestrial scouting missions would prove just as crucial as the factual sessions on the features and actions of 3I Atlas. Personnel accustomed to focusing on earthly dangers and standard tactical countermeasures would demand swift instruction regarding the tactical intricacies, potentially shaping interactions across star systems, along with the tech imbalances defining clashes with off-world societies. The documents prepared for the Quantico session likely combined extensive periods of intel review with tactical outlining for multiple hypothetical situations. Such resources would deliver in-depth specs on sightings of 3I Atlas while tackling larger issues concerning humanity's reactions to possible otherworldly encounters and the armed forces' assets essential for robust protection from extraterrestrial risks. Safeguards around the September gathering would aim beyond merely shielding sensitive data, extending to blocking any unsanctioned leaks of content that might spark broad societal and fiscal chaos if exposed too soon. The ripple effects of verified interstellar outreach on stock exchanges, faith-based groups, and communal order offer further reasons for upholding tight data management, including inside secure official networks. Following the Quantico conference kept mostly out of sight, the next steps would feature rollout of upgraded monitoring measures and readiness plans tailored to handle diverse outcomes as 3I Atlas nears its nearest solar approach. These efforts would involve collaboration with non-military bodies, global allies, and corporate entities, potentially vital for backing official handling of authenticated alien engagement. Setting up messaging guidelines for such encounters poses among the trickiest hurdles for defense strategists, since established negotiation models presume exchanges among beings with common developmental backgrounds and comparable mental frameworks. Interacting with authentic extraterrestrial minds could necessitate entirely fresh methods for data sharing and alliance formation. The innovation initiatives launched upon solid proof of alien tech would mark the biggest urgent R&D push ever undertaken by humankind, surpassing the scale and haste of the Manhattan Project or Apollo mission alike. Grasping extraterrestrial innovations might yield critical edges in future dealings. Conversely, not attaining that insight could render people forever exposed to advanced societies. Choices on distributing assets to manage full-scale reactions to interstellar outreach would pressure public finances and demand sweeping shifts in countrywide focuses. Defense outlays would have to rise sharply, even as non-defense initiatives face cuts to finance rapid buildup of orbital shields and cutting-edge study efforts. Staffing needs for solid handling of alien outreach would surpass existing armed and spy force capacities, calling for huge hiring and skill-building drives targeting pros in areas from alien life sciences to cutting-edge theory. Learning centers would need core program overhauls to equip coming generations of authorities for unprecedented trials. The statutes and foundational rules directing official reactions to alien outreach stay. The concept remains mostly vague since current frameworks primarily consider risks and prospects stemming from Earth-based origins. The unearthing of sophisticated extraterrestrial tech could necessitate fresh legislative powers and organizational setups that harmonize public oversight with the urgency for swift choices in situations threatening mankind's existence. Security protocols around the 3I Atlas evaluation highlight the extreme steps employed to block any illicit release of details that might upend worldwide order. Intelligence outfits enforced what insiders call segmented entry procedures, restricting awareness of the item's most troubling features to under 200 people globally, encompassing top executives from partner countries boasting cutting-edge orbital monitoring systems. These safeguards also covered the crafting of fabricated narratives and substitute rationales ready for use should word of 3/3 Atlas slip out too soon to news outlets or rogue investigators. The fabricated tales, devised by PSYOPs experts versed in shaping public views amid security emergencies, aim to steer focus from possible otherworldly origins toward routine celestial events. Deploying such intricate misinformation tactics underscores the anxiety among high-ranking leaders over the possible societal and fiscal fallout from early revelations about 3/3 Atlas. Economic reviews by finance ministry analysts warned that verified proof of alien tech might spark market turmoil on par with or worse than the 2008 worldwide meltdown, demanding extraordinary state actions to safeguard fiscal equilibrium. Faith leaders informed about the ramifications of possible extraterrestrial encounters voiced worries over doctrinal hurdles from validating superior alien societies. The Vatican's Pontifical Academy of Sciences discreetly sought for input on alien interaction strategies since the 1990s, offered insights indicating that key global faiths could adjust to signs of alien intellect, though it would demand thoughtful groundwork to avert splits among stricter devotees. Societal equilibrium evaluations from August and September 2025 depicted a dire outlook for public reactions to verified alien encounters. Demographic simulations projected that 20 to 40% of people could suffer intense mental strain upon realizing humanity shares the cosmos, with heightened responses anticipated from those whose spiritual or ideological beliefs stress human exceptionalism or sacred origins. These societal effect studies shaped the choice to confine details on 3/3 Atlas to the tiniest group of authorities, all while gearing up thorough outreach efforts that might launch if revelation proved unavoidable. The outreach plans focused on highlighting exploratory zeal and upsides of alien interaction, downplaying risks or defense angles. The global teamwork needed to handle intel on 3/2 Atlas posed novel hurdles for foreign affairs and spy networks, as standard data exchange pacts hadn't foreseen cases of prospective alien involvement. Fresh one-on-one and group deals were hashed out in August and September to set guidelines for circulating confidential sightings, all while shielding assets and techniques from feasible alien oversight. The Five Eyes intelligence. The partnership among the United States, United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand underwent expansion to incorporate restricted access initiatives dedicated exclusively to extraterrestrial occurrences, resulting in what insiders in the intelligence community quietly dubbed the 6 Eyes protocols. These encompassed bolstered safeguards and tailored analytical tools tailored to tackle cosmic intelligence dilemmas. In a parallel vein, the European Union's intelligence sharing structures received adjustments to handle observations of 3 at last and their ramifications for continental defense priorities. The European External Action Service crafted initial outlines for the bloc's reactions to verified extraterrestrial engagement, featuring elements for unified diplomatic efforts and joint technological advancement efforts that might leverage any forthcoming extraterrestrial expertise. NATO's collective encountered distinct hurdles in confronting 3/2 at last, given that current mutual defense pacts presuppose dangers originating from Earth-based actors, thus rendering ambiguous as to whether extraterrestrial hostilities would invoke Article 5's Collective Protection Clause. Officials within the alliance held secret deliberations on broadening NATO's scope to encompass off-world perils, yet these talks stayed exploratory until a clearer evaluation of the phenomenon's essence emerged. Through back-channel diplomacy, the United Nations Security Council got unofficial updates on 3/3 Atlas, although the organization's standard apparatus avoided engagement over worries regarding data protection and the risk of untimely leaks via routine UN channels. Secretary General Antonio Guterres received a direct update on the matter, but urged postponing any official UN role until firmer proof surfaced. The sequence of choices further highlights the immense pressure on high-level administrators who must uphold everyday public duties and obligations even as they wrestle in secret with revelations that might upend humankind's perception of its place in the universe. President Biden, Defense Secretary Hegst, and fellow top executives pressed on with standard public engagements and agenda items, all the while joining secure sessions on prospective extraterrestrial scouting that upended core tenets of traditional security strategies. For those handling 3 Atlas details, dedicated mental health resources were set up, featuring expert therapy options and tension relief initiatives crafted for those absorbing world-altering insights into alien sentience. Such resources built upon studies from the Cold War era on coping with mental strain from atomic conflict possibilities, now repurposed for the distinct pressures of imaginable extraterrestrial interactions. Expenses tied to the rigorous examination of 3 Atlas and readiness for possible alien encounters climbed to heights akin to large-scale arms acquisitions, necessitating inventive fiscal maneuvers to finance operations away from legislative scrutiny, bodies unvetted for extraterrestrial intel. Urgent reserve allocations and covert funding streams got rerouted to bolster monitoring and evaluative functions. With the chronology linking 3I at last to the September armed forces gathering still developing, pivotal choices in the near term could decide if humanity's initial brush with extraterrestrial minds fosters harmonious ties to a wider interstellar network or sparks a frantic clash with entities whose powers and motives surpass our grasp today. The extended period of intel review and strategic military groundwork leading up to the Quantico session could ultimately demonstrate it stands as humanity's crucial commitment to gearing up for an era that might transform how we perceive our role in the cosmos. Beneath the surface of stellar explorations and open scientific discussions lurks a clandestine realm of restricted monitoring tools that vastly surpass what's accessible to non-military scientists. The initial spotting of 3I Atlas via the Atlas Survey Telescope instantly activated a series of covert tracking networks, details of which are privy only to a handful of insiders in the spy world. These concealed watchers, stationed in orbital paths and farther out in space, hold technologies that could radically shift societal views on this enigmatic intruder if their insights ever surfaced. The National Reconnaissance Office, the United States' most covert intel outfit, manages a fleet of spy satellites with functions that go well past the terrestrial scanning operations outlined in official reports. Included in this hidden arsenal are far space oversight setups, first crafted in the Cold War era to spot Soviet space vehicles and rocket trials, yet now advanced into cutting-edge arrays for pursuing and scrutinizing items across the solar system. As shared by ex-NRO head Betty Sapp, during a restricted session with lawmakers whose records were eventually secured via intel review pathways, these far space tracking arrays picked up 3A Atlas over 2 weeks prior to its formal identification by amateur stargazers. Such restricted sightings uncovered traits and actions kept out of the spotlight, feeding into spy evaluations that allegedly shaped the extraordinary armed forces reaction seen at the Quantico gathering. The engineering prowess of these undercover viewing apparatuses marks leaps in detection hardware and data handling that outpace public skywatching gear by generations. Although the Hubble Space Telescope and James Webb Space Telescope draw crowds with their remarkable research powers, the secret orbital sentinels run by spy groups boast clarity, acuity, and processing skills that render even these top-tier research tools seem outdated in contrast. Inside spy networks, the elite scouting and monitoring satellite initiative, dubbed Argus, sustains a web of distant space watch stations scattered across the solar system's fringes. Rolled out across 15 years aboard undisclosed massive launchers, these units deliver non-stop oversight of paths from beyond our system, areas Earth stations can't cover owing to sun glare and world blockages. The Argus array first caught 3I at last when it lingered past Jupiter's path, well ahead of any public find, and continues to follow its inbound path with remarkable accuracy to this day. Gathered intel from these units encompasses sharp visuals of outer layers unseen by landscopes, light spectrum breakdowns exposing makeup overlooked by public gear, and time-based watches recording shifts that ground watchers miss entirely. Above all, the Argus units have picked up radio waves from 3 Atlas, hinting at functioning circuitry inside the entity. Operating on wavelengths and intensities undetectable by public wave dishes, these signals show traits matching high-tech signaling or steering gear. The rhythms in these signals point to regular signal flares aimed at targeted spots in the void, possibly signaling links to additional entities or facilities undetected by human watchers so far. The examination of these electromagnetic traces was carried out by the National Security Agency's Advanced Signal Intelligence Division, experts in capturing and decoding messages from overseas governments and armed forces. Applied to the emissions picked up from the 3 Atlas, NSA methods have pinpointed structural formations pointing to man-made sources instead of typical electromagnetic events linked to comet-like behavior. The ramifications of these secret findings go well past scholarly debates on interstellar visitors, touching on urgent national defense issues regarding possible monitoring of human operations by unidentified entities. Should 3-2 at LAZ truly carry sophisticated sensors and transmission gear, its journey across the solar system could amount to a thorough scouting operation, collecting in-depth data on human tech prowess and world protection strategies. Reviews of orbital dynamics from covert military space monitoring setups have uncovered extra irregularities in 3I Atlas's movements that stay out of sight for non-military eyes. Although open announcements highlight the item's steady path and foreseeable entry, secret monitoring records indicate minor path tweaks seemingly crafted to improve viewing perspectives on key planets, all while upholding the facade of ordinary comet travel. Such path tweaks demand thrust power surpassing what any Earth vessel can muster today, hinting at tech refinement matching probes sent by superior alien societies across the stars. The accuracy of these path shifts not only points to operational control mechanisms, but also implies thorough advance awareness of planet locations and solar system orbits. The schedule and scale of these path tweaks were meticulously planned to stay under the radar of public stargazing efforts, yet secure prime spots for spying tasks. Such refined stealth implies that 3 Atlas's creators hold in-depth insights into Earth's watching tools and have tailored their operation to dodge raising clear red flags for ground-based spotters. The Defense Intelligence Agency's review of 3I Atlas's path information has spotted what look like preset checkpoints aligned with ideal viewing spots for Earth, Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. The item's route via the solar system matches what defense experts term a standard scouting circuit, aimed at boosting data collection chances while cutting down on risks from counteractions by the societies under watch. This path review grows especially troubling alongside intel evaluations of the item's final stop after wrapping up its solar system survey. Instead of pressing on a hyperbolic arc into deep space like a genuine interstellar wanderer would, secure simulations indicate that 3 Atlas might be set up for gravity slingshot actions that could steer it to particular aims inside the solar system. The gravest scenario noted by defense specialists entails employing the sun's gravitational pull to pull off what flight experts label a reverse Earth maneuver, slowing the item sufficiently to settle into a steady loop in the solar system's core. That kind of action would call for exact scheduling and cutting-edge thrust tech, yet it would allow for extended monitoring human endeavors from a vantage point that's nearly impossible to track or disrupt with today's earthly orbital tech. The secret monitoring tools tracking 3-Through at last incorporate quantum detection setups crafted via covert funding initiatives that stay off the radar even for many lawmakers on intelligence committees. Drawing from cutting-edge physics concepts far beyond what's grasped in public academia, these devices pick up on gravity irregularities, bends in space-time, and traces of unusual particles that standard gear would completely miss. Directed toward 3 Atlas, such quantum detectors have allegedly picked up indications matching sophisticated drive mechanisms that warp gravity or twist space-time fabric for streamlined voyages between stars. Spotting these traces would verify not just extraterrestrial tech, but also core scientific ideas that might transform our grasp of physics and tech design, should we manage to decode and mimic them. The fallout from these quantum findings has sparked the most secretive scientific efforts ever in mankind's records, pulling in groups of physicists and tech experts holding clearances tougher than those for atomic armaments. These squads are working to decode the mechanics behind the odd signals coming from 3D Atlas, aiming eventually to craft our own defenses strong enough to counter superior off-world threats. The global aspects of these hidden watch efforts layer extra hurdles onto intel evaluations, since various countries hold sophisticated orbital tracking systems that could have spotted parallel oddities in 3 Atlas actions. Syncing these secret surveillances among partner states demands record-breaking info exchanges, all while upholding tight ops secrecy to keep any possible extraterrestrial watchers in the dark about our spotting prowess. The European Space A's Hidden Monitoring Unit, masked as routine space research ops, has supposedly backed up numerous irregularities flagged by U.S. intel networks. The joint efforts between U.S. and European secret watches have allowed for cross-location pinpointing that yields far richer insights into 3I Atlas traits than what one country's systems alone could deliver. Though not as refined as U.S. or European setups, China's orbital monitoring arrays have likewise noted bizarre features in 3 Atlas, shaping their defense space initiatives and long-term tactics. Intel reviews indicate that Beijing's top brass are building their personal countermeasures for hypothetical extraterrestrial encounters, which might foster rivalries among big players and snag unified human dealings with alien outreach. Western spy outfits know little about Russia's covert looks at 3I Atlas. Snagged chatter points to Moscow's experts drawing markedly different views on the thing's essence compared to Western takes. Such gaps in risk gauging might spark clashing country reactions that could disrupt the best human plans for handling prospective alien scouting. The mental toll on Intel pros and armed forces members privy to these secret views of 3I Atlas has necessitated tailored aid initiatives to assist folks in digesting data that upends basic beliefs. These initiatives challenge long-standing beliefs about humankind's role in the cosmos. Support efforts like these build on years of studies examining the mental impacts of transformative disclosures, yet they mark the pioneering real-world deployment of such findings in authentic extraterrestrial settings. The segmentation of sensitive sightings has fostered conditions in which separate analyst teams handle distinct fragments of the full dataset, yielding divergent judgments on the relevance of 3 Atlas and viable countermeasure approaches. Unifying these fragmented evaluation processes calls for collaborative frameworks that reconcile thorough insight with operational safeguards, which curtail data dissemination even across secure pathways. Tech innovation drives spurred by confidential sightings echo high-stakes RD campaigns on par with the Manhattan Project in magnitude and intensity. Squads of researchers and technicians toil ceaselessly to decode the fundamental physics, powering the anomalous traces identified from 3 Atlas with the aim of engineering human innovations capable of countering superior extraterrestrial prowess. The budgetary burdens of these hidden RD ventures have demanded ingenious fiscal maneuvers to bankroll operations without rousing congressional review panels unvetted for extraterrestrial intelligence details. Clandestine funding streams, first crafted for routine defense inquiries, have been repurposed to bolster probes into prospective alien innovations, as supplemental crisis allotments have been funneled toward enhanced monitoring and reaction resources. The juridical and moral quandaries tied to confidential glimpses of potential alien innovations persist mostly unaddressed, given that prevailing structures presuppose risks and prospects stemming from earthly origins. Unearthing cutting-edge alien innovations sparks debates over patent protections, innovation dissemination curbs, and cross-border alliance treaties lacking any historical basis in human statutes or negotiation norms. The protective protocols for shielding confidential glimpses of 3 Atlas have driven the formulation of novel anti-spying tactics intended to block prospective alien monitors from gauging the breadth of human sensing prowess. Such tactics presuppose that mature off-world societies command refined reconnaissance tools able to surveil human discourse and endeavors, thus mandating extraordinary security standards for endeavors linked to extraterrestrial engagement frameworks. The broader tactical fallout from confidential sightings surpasses pressing issues around 3 Atlas to embrace larger inquiries into the prevalence and character of extraterrestrial oversight operations that might have persisted over prolonged spans undetected by humanity. In the event that today's confidential sensing tools are unmasking extraterrestrial operations once beyond detection, then humankind could have endured methodical scrutiny for generations or epochs in blissful ignorance. The emergence that mature alien societies might have tracked human advancement ignites searching questions on the course of human technical and cultural progression, and if that progression bears the imprint of extraterrestrial manipulative oversight. The prospect that human chronicles have progressed amid alien scrutiny upends our conception of human triumphs and the obstacles potentially looming as we evolve from a world-centric existence to an authentically interstellar one. The partitioned quality of confidential sightings has generated what espionage specialists term a mosaic phenomenon, where a comprehensive view of 3I Atlas comes into focus solely through the integration of scattered classified data by experts possessing the necessary security clearances and access privileges. Such compartmentalization of intelligence offers both protective advantages and interpretive challenges, as it safeguards against illicit leaks yet restricts the pool of personnel capable of grasping the entire breadth of irregularities identified by diverse monitoring apparatuses. The National Geospatial Intelligence Agency has supplied targeted evaluations of 3I Atlas employing synthetic aperture radar methods modified for distant cosmic uses. These scans, performed via secret broadcasting sites that generate energy outputs vastly surpassing those of non-military astronomical setups, have delved beneath the entity's outer shell to uncover subsurface formations that deviate markedly from typical comet-like makeup. The resulting radar visuals depict seemingly orderly configurations inside the entity, featuring straight alignments and uniform formations indicative of engineered design, instead of the haphazard mix of frozen water and debris typical of ordinary comets. These subsurface elements are configured to enhance durability for voyages across the stars, while also creating shielded areas potentially suitable for safeguarding delicate machinery or perhaps living organisms. The revelation of evident enclosed sections inside 3I Atlas has sparked fervent conjecture within secure analytical circles regarding the entity's actual purpose and payload. Should this entity prove to be an extraterrestrial scout, such compartments might harbor sophisticated research tools, signaling devices or samples of life from its home world. The prospect that humankind could be confronting not merely foreign tech, but genuine extraterrestrial beings has raised the confidentiality ratings of associated studies to strata usually applied to atomic armament initiatives. The health ramifications of possible interstellar encounters have revived covert investigation initiatives idle since their inception in the dawn of space exploration. The Centers for Disease Control oversees a hidden branch called the Extraterrestrial Pathogen Response Unit, which has crafted guidelines for managing prospective microbial hazards from otherworldly origins ever since the Apollo lunar missions sparked worries over moon-based microbes. These health preparedness guidelines have been mobilized regarding 3I Atlas examinations, even though the entity lingers millions of kilometers away from our planet. The defensive steps encompass creating isolation zones, sterilization methods, and therapeutic interventions ready for use should 3I Atlas disperse organic substances into the solar system or if interactions with extraterrestrial devices lead to encounters with unfamiliar microbes. The aspects of mental operations tied to possible extraterrestrial scouting have undergone thorough secret review by defense intelligence units. In the event that 3I Atlas signifies organized otherworldly monitoring of earthly endeavors, its data collection might furnish extraterrestrial societies with in-depth insights into human behavior, societal frameworks, and inventive prowess, ripe for leverage and future interactions. Humanity's susceptibility to mental influence from superior extraterrestrial groups constitutes a risk category without earthly counterparts in strategic defense frameworks. Extraterrestrials armed with profound insights into human thought processes and interpersonal patterns might subtly shape human reactions to fulfill their aims, bypassing direct combat. Crafting defenses against this form of mental interference demands a deep probe into human mental weaknesses that goes well beyond extending far past standard military drills. The financial data collected by 3Ds, at last as it traverses the solar system, might offer extraterrestrial societies a thorough insight into how humans manage resources, rely on technology, and expose economic weaknesses ripe for exploitation in future encounters or confrontations. Its path delivers prime vantage points for evaluating Earth's orbital facilities, activities in extracting planetary resources, and the financial frameworks underpinning human tech advancements. Analyses of key resources by secret intel agencies have pinpointed key focus areas most appealing to hypothetical extraterrestrial scouting operations. Such areas encompass evaluations of human atomic arsenals, orbital armaments, ground-based protective sites, and the manufacturing prowess fueling human defense and exploration efforts. The route taken by 3 at LAS grants entry to details across each of these vital domains. The risks posed by possible extraterrestrial monitoring have prompted the creation of fresh security protocols aimed at reducing the intel worth of human operations visible to 3 Atlas or comparable alien scouting devices. Among these steps are curbs on training maneuvers, adjustments to orbital mission timelines, and deployment of misleading tactics to confuse would-be alien watchers regarding human tech strengths. Examination of signal intel from radio waves picked up from 33rd Atlas has spotted seemingly coded signal bursts relying on numerical patterns foreign to all familiar human coding techniques. Even the NSA's top-tier code-breaking tools have failed to crack these signals, implying they draw on advanced math concepts or processing approaches beyond today's human grasp. Breakdown of the signal patterns shows they're aimed at particular cosmic zones, unmatched by any recognized celestial bodies seen through human scopes. This points to 3I Atlas, possibly linking up with unseen extraterrestrial bases or vessels evading human detection networks. The notion of several coordinated alien presences lurking in our solar system forms a danger outlook that upends core defense strategy foundations. Scrutiny of substance properties from spectral readings by covert detectors has revealed atomic traces in 3/3 Atlas clashing with the origins of our solar neighborhood. These unusual atomic variants imply the entity arose in star systems shaped by distinct atomic reactions from those forming our own. Moreover, they hint at engineered substances absent from typical comet development. Spotting such synthetic elements in 33rd Atlas stands as compelling proof of its manufactured nature. Yet it also sparks inquiries into the prowess of those who built it. Crafting such rare substances with tailored traits displays command over atomic science and substance design far surpassing human levels, perhaps by hundreds or thousands of years. With ongoing secret monitoring of 3I Atlas piling up undisclosed findings, the divide between public expert statements and true state-held insights widens steadily. Choices driven by restricted data could shape not just our reaction to this specific prospective extraterrestrial arrival, but our readiness for an era where we might realize that our sense of isolation in the vast cosmos has been an illusion all along. The enigmatic observers, tracking 3 Atlas from the distant fringes of space, could unlock insights into whether humankind is on the cusp of harmonious engagement with a friendly interstellar society or confronting a profound crisis that challenges every notion we've held about our role in the universe. The impending solar eclipse of 3 Atlas goes well beyond a mere interruption in sky-watching efforts. To defense planners and spy experts, the stretch of time when this enigmatic entity vanishes behind the sun marks the riskiest chapter ever faced by our species. It opens a critical exposure phase where covert extraterrestrial scouting might escalate into a grave peril, all without earthly sentinels able to spot or counter it. The exact timing needed for 3I at last path to align perfectly with the sun's shadow points to deliberate orchestration that defies mere chance. Experts in orbital paths at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory have determined that the entity's route will place it squarely obscured by the sun, as seen from our planet, for precisely 23 days, spanning from October 28th to November 20th, 2025. This span offers the ideal opportunity for unseen adjustments to its direction, potentially reshaping its entire objectives. Dr. Lance Benner, head of NASA's Asteroid Radar Initiative, has performed sensitive reviews of the pull of gravity influencing 3I Atlas during this solar hideaway. His computations show the object sweeping within 9 astronomical units of the sun, setting up an ideal spot for what flight specialists term a boosted slingshot effect via gravity, allowing a shift toward virtually any destination in the solar system's core regions. Though demanding substantial power, such a shift aligns with the potential of cutting-edge engines that interstellar societies might wield, including ion thrusters, nuclear explosion drives, or even speculative methods harnessing gravity itself to generate the push required to tweak 3A Atlas course while it's out of sight from our gaze. The broader ramifications of this prospect have undergone thorough simulations by the Pentagon's cutting-edge innovation arm, employing massive computing arrays to probe countless path alterations and their fallout for global safety. While the findings stay under tight wraps, statements from DARPA leaders in front of lawmakers suggest numerous outlined situations present dire perils to our way of life, demanding swift armed action. Among the gravest outcomes from these models is leveraging the sun's pull to slow 3 Atlas sufficiently for settling into a steady loop amid the asteroid belt, ideal for ongoing oversight of earthly signals, defense maneuvers, and progress in tech, all while staying out of range for today's human spacecraft. This setup would allow non-stop scrutiny of our broadcasts, armed forces, and inventions, plus serve as a forward outpost for future extraterrestrial endeavors in our star system. Other possibilities sketched by security thinkers involve 3/2 Atlas exploiting its solar veil to release tiny scout devices across the inner planets, forming an enduring watch grid that's nearly undetectable with our present detection tools. These minuscule sentinels might station themselves at Lagrange positions, rocky outcrops on asteroids, or even deeper within Earth orbit, offers extensive surveillance functions that could endure well beyond the primary body's exit from our solar system. The most concerning possibility entails 3 relays undertaking a straight-line path toward our planet, amid its solar eclipse, bursting forth from the sun's shadow on an impact trajectory that affords scant notice for countermeasures. Although present orbital projections deem this improbable, the object's proven maneuvering expertise implies that such a sharp directional shift falls squarely within its engineering prowess. Crafting countermeasures for these diverse situations has compelled defense strategists to confront tech constraints that limit humanity's responses to conceivable extraterrestrial dangers. Today's human vessels fall short in thrust power to catch up with entities moving at cosmic speeds. Planetary protection setups, built for handling rocks and icy wanderers, might falter against engineered entities boasting sophisticated evasion tactics. The recently formed space defense squads, dubbed Guardian units, bear the responsibility of forging quick reaction tools for hypothetical extraterrestrial encounters. Yet the chasms in tech between us and any imagined extraterrestrial prowess pose core hurdles for safeguard strategies. The very innovations powering star-spanning journeys would doubtless grant decisive edges in clashes against world-bound societies reliant on fuel-based drives and standard armaments. The worldwide teamwork needed for vigilant oversight amid the sun's blockage has exposed glaring weaknesses in planetary spacewatch networks ripe for exploitation by extraterrestrial maneuvers. Though leading space nations wield cutting-edge trackers, their scopes harbor gaps that might mask alien moves while 3 Atlas lurks obscured by the sun. The European Space Agency has shifted multiple far-flung observation tools to yield fresh viewing perspectives during the eclipse. However, these setups suffer from insufficient clarity and acuity to spot minor path tweaks or the release of minor probes that could happen in that concealed phase. The shortcomings of our sensor tech breed inevitable doubts regarding extraterrestrial actions unfolding outside our reach. China's orbital watch systems, though not as openly detailed as those in the West, have apparently received boosts tailored to tackle the 3 Atlas oversight issue. Spy reports indicate that Beijing's defense experts have gauged the entity's risk so highly as to warrant heavy funding for upgraded orbital monitoring and possible counter-tools. Moscow's orbital tracking, hampered by fiscal woes and tech shortfalls, might deliver just basic oversight through the vital sun-blocked interval. Such holes in worldwide watch networks breed exploitable flaws that extraterrestrials could leverage to dodge top-tier human detectors while staying off the radar of weaker setups. The mental readiness demanded of troops and leaders over the sun's occlusion span has spurred creation of targeted drills to sustain peak performance amid prolonged ambiguity over dire perils. These initiatives build on Cold War-era studies into handling tension tied to atomic threats. Military strategies have been modified to address the distinct difficulties posed by possible encounters with extraterrestrial beings. Protocols for communication during the solar occultation phase incorporate measures for swift data exchange among partner countries should signs of trajectory adjustments or unusual actions emerge. Such arrangements presume that timely alerts regarding extraterrestrial operations might offer vital benefits in synchronizing earthly countermeasures. However, they also recognize the profound restrictions on human intervention options due to prevailing tech limitations. The fiscal ramifications of this solar occultation era go further than urgent defense issues, touching on wider issues of economic steadiness and societal trust amid times of elevated doubt over prospective extraterrestrial dangers. Stock exchanges have exhibited greater fluctuations reacting to rumors concerning 3 at last, necessitating joint efforts by state bodies and monetary overseers to avert frenzied disposals or further disruptive actions. Preparations on the societal and cultural fronts for likely events in the solar occultation encompass thorough outreach plans aimed at controlling community responses should proof of extraterrestrial presence turn irrefutable. These plans strike a balance between upholding societal order and equipping citizens for transformative insights into humankind's role within the cosmos. Faith-based organizations have obtained unofficial advice from official contacts on the doctrinal consequences of verified extraterrestrial engagement, emphasizing efforts to sustain unity in groups where doctrines could face disruption from indications of sophisticated alien societies. The Vatican. Leading Protestant groups, Muslim officials, and various spiritual figures have discreetly crafted interpretive structures capable of integrating extraterrestrial encounters without undermining fundamental tenets of faith. Schools and universities have received initial directives to handle worries from learners and educators regarding extraterrestrial interaction possibilities. These directives stay broad to sidestep sparking alarm, yet they supply structures for productive dialogues on interstellar belonging and human duties in a galaxy that may host other life forms. Juridical structures for managing possible extraterrestrial interactions are mostly uncharted, as current global statutes presume dealings among earthbound parties with common origins and comparable mental frameworks. Crafting juridical guidelines for such contacts has been assigned to expert task forces functioning under strict secrecy levels to avoid early leaks of hypothetical situations that may not occur. Tech advancement initiatives launched amid the 3i Atlas Enigma have been sped up to deliver superior functions prior to the onset of the solar occultation. These initiatives target refining detection precision, broadening observation scopes, and devising evaluation methods that could uncover extraterrestrial operations undetectable by existing oversight tools. Staffing demands for nonstop oversight in the solar occultation have overburdened state departments and armed forces past their standard capacities. Extra personnel have been summoned back from downtime. Backup forces have been mobilized, and global partnership pacts have been engaged to optimize personnel pools for this vital watch phase. The operational setup for round-the-clock observation via diverse detection arrays deployed worldwide demands collaborative systems more intricate than any prior cosmic surveillance endeavor. control hubs in the United States, Europe, and partner countries. We will sustain ongoing dialogue throughout the solar eclipse to facilitate swift data exchange should any irregular patterns emerge. Contingency communication protocols set up for this eclipse phase incorporate measures to uphold collaboration even amid interruptions to main networks caused by solar flares, radio disruptions, or conceivable extraterrestrial tactics aimed at hindering human synchronization during vital missions. These contingency setups employ diverse backup pathways and secure coding techniques to guarantee dependable data transmission regardless of the circumstances. The analytical resources deployed for examining any eclipse-gathered information form the broadest coalition of specialists ever assembled, uniting experts from disciplines like celestial trajectories to extraterrestrial life studies for prompt evaluation of any spotted non-human actions. These evaluation groups will function on accelerated schedules, potentially yielding initial findings in mere hours instead of the standard months needed for expert validation. The protocol structures in place for the eclipse timeframe outline distinct hierarchies of command and preset action plans that can be swiftly implemented upon spotting signs of hostile extraterrestrial conduct. These structures reconcile the imperative for quick reactions with obligations for global teamwork and non-military supervision of defense operations impacting worldwide stability. With the solar eclipse drawing near, the interplay of optimism for amicable interaction and readiness for possible dangers underscores the core ambiguity defining humanity's inaugural potential brush with sophisticated alien intellect. Choices forged in the coming weeks, drawing from sightings that might remain confidential, could dictate if the reappearance of 3I Atlas from solar obscurity signals the dawn of interstellar alliance or the onset of our species' sternest trial for endurance in a cosmos potentially more perilous than anticipated. The clash of empirical doubt and strategic vigilance regarding 3I Atlas has sparked one of the deepest organizational conflicts in contemporary times, contrasting the deliberate rhythm of vetted inquiry with the pressing necessities of state protection strategies amid threats that could imperil existence itself. Although NASA and public observatories persist in highlighting standard rationales for the object's traits, restricted defense evaluations depict a much graver outlook that warrants readiness for situations many researchers deem implausible fantasy. Dr. Thomas Zurbuchen, ex-deputy head of NASA's Scientific Operations Branch, embodies the dominant scholarly viewpoint that 3I Atlas, though peculiar, aligns with anticipated natural occurrences for cosmic wanderers, boasting odd yet understandable sources. In partly released legislative statements, Zurbuchen stressed that bold assertions demand robust proof, and the oddities noted in 3I Atlas have not yet surpassed the bar for deeming it artificially made. The scholarly focus on repeatable data and vetted scrutiny inherently slows judgments on events with urgent real-world stakes for human safety. As stargazers weigh odds and rival theories, defense strategists are compelled to gear up for improbable yet devastating eventualities that demand foresight to avert disaster. This core disparity in pacing has bred what spy agency leaders term a full-blown impasse. This erosion of institutional trust arises when scientific experts openly downplay issues that defense specialists deem critical enough to warrant detailed contingency strategies. The divide between official scientific statements and secret risk evaluations has widened dramatically, undermining the reliability of both fields for decision-makers who grapple with fragmented and conflicting data. Dr. Shaw Kirkpatrick, ex-head of the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, has worked to narrow this divide by crafting evaluation models that merge scientific precision with defense-oriented risk analysis techniques. As Kirkpatrick noted during a secure multi-agency gathering, the key difficulty is in forging protocols that recognize unknowns, yet still facilitate robust readiness for rare but catastrophic events. Building these blended evaluation systems demanded teamwork between academic experts and defense evaluators, who start from contrasting views on what counts as proof and how to handle unclear information. Academic investigators insist on irrefutable validation before endorsing groundbreaking ideas, whereas defense strategists are compelled to game out dire possibilities even on flimsy backing. The organizational norms shaping these divergent ways of scrutinizing 3I Atlas highlight deeper debates on how specialized knowledge should inform open governance choices. Academic bodies stress openness, expert vetting, and incremental agreement as cornerstones of trustworthy insight. Defense bodies focus on swift judgments, info protection, and bold moves using whatever intel is at hand, flaws notwithstanding. Such ingrained divides have erected hurdles in dialogue, hindering unified state strategies on 3-through. Ultimately, when academics get briefed on restricted sightings, they often voice irritation at defense readings of evidence they see as too thin for firm judgments. Defense experts, meanwhile, worry over academics' hesitation to entertain threats that could jeopardize a nation's future if they turn out to be real. The vetting ritual for academic releases has sparked special friction, since the pace needed to probe 3-through at last doesn't mesh with the drawn-out timelines for thorough expert review. Manuscripts proposing an engineered source for the entity undergo fierce examination from evaluators who justifiably seek ironclad support for bold assertions. Yet this examination unfolds as the entity nears its solar eclipse and chances for trajectory tweaks. Dr. Aviub's bids to release studies positing an engineered basis for 3I Atlas have hit the same systemic pushback that plagued his prior research on Oumuamua, showing how scholarly dissemination channels might falter when tackling findings with urgent real-world stakes. The very prudence that blocks hasty embrace of flawed ideas can likewise postpone spotting true breakthroughs until windows for smart action close. The secrecy around defense sightings and reviews adds further obstacles to academic scrutiny, as the most persuasive proof on 3-through Atlas stays out of reach for non-defense scholars. The need to know limits to safeguard vital intel assets ensure that experts issuing public takes on the entity's makeup often miss key details that could reshape their views. This uneven access to facts has led to cases where scientific officials brush aside worries regarding 3-through at last, relying on partial information, even as defense strategists gear up for risks drawn from secret sightings that might stay hidden from general viewers. This leads to an expanding gap between everyday scientific debates and genuine state security evaluations, which could erode trust in research integrity as well as faith in governmental handling of possible extraterrestrial encounters. The global facets of this rift between science and the armed forces add further layers of intricacy. Since countries possess diverse degrees of orbital monitoring expertise and could arrive at contrasting views on 3I Atlas depending on the evidence at hand for their own research and defense groups. Researchers in Europe, using distinct sets of sighting records from those of their U.S. peers, have voiced greater doubt toward ideas of non-natural beginnings. Although European defense experts apparently echo U.S. apprehensions over possible dangers, institutions in China have stayed mostly quiet on 3I Atlas, due in part to restricted entry to cutting-edge sighting materials and official curbs on open talks about matters tied to state security. That said, spy reports indicate that China's armed forces in space have undergone major growth in reaction to the item's traits, hinting that their risk evaluations might match U.S. defense worries more than the doubts aired in open scientific circles. The ability of Russian experts to scrutinize 3-through at last remains hampered by tech barriers and funding shortages. Yet Russia's space defense initiatives have undergone alterations that point to unease over prospective otherworldly risks. This split between modest Russian research tools and evident defense readiness breeds extra doubt about the breadth of worldwide agreement on the item's importance. Press reports on 3 at last are shaped by this divide, with conventional science writers stressing NASA declarations that frame the item as a fascinating yet earthly occurrence. Meanwhile, security-focused journalists draw attention to odd defense maneuvers that imply deeper alarms. Such reporting fosters bewilderment among the public about the right degree of alarm for this prospective initial encounter case. Online forums about 3I at last have heightened both research doubts and defense alarms, forming virtual groups that view identical sighting evidence via starkly opposing conceptual lenses. The spread of data through web tools allows non-experts to review release details on the item and form judgments that could stray far from formal research or defense opinions. The mental effects on experts and evaluators dealing with 3D Atlas differ widely based on their organizational ties and exposure to restricted details. Non-military researchers describe thrill in probing the third verified star-crossing guest, whereas defense staff with entry to secret sightings note tension akin to that in key global conflicts. The professional fallout for those pushing non-natural source ideas for 3D at last mirrors wider strains in scholarly settings over striking the right mix of bold exploration and prudent restraint. Specialists backing unusual theories face isolation in their fields, whereas those rejecting them might seem overly trusting should major events later vindicate the doubters. The resource effects of this research-defense split have spurred atypical distribution of funds, where defense study efforts programs connected to 3D at last are finally getting major funding boosts, whereas civilian research initiatives examining the entity must vie for standard grants via conventional scholarly routes. This uneven distribution of funds could affect the depth and thoroughness of various studies. Differing views among specialists on 3I at last pose difficulties for educational institutions striving to field inquiries from students regarding the item's importance. Science teachers focus on natural causes and empirical approaches, steering clear of guesses about possible man-made sources that lack confirmation, yet can't be entirely dismissed. Tensions arising from clashes between scientific and military views on 3D Atlas go further than internal policy alignment, touching on global partnerships for orbital monitoring and contingency strategies. Partner countries equipped with sophisticated orbital tech might hesitate to exchange confidential data if their risk evaluations clash with those derived from the findings. The regulatory structure for handling prospective extraterrestrial encounters grows more intricate due to debates over the threshold of proof needed to activate specific action plans. Defense strategists push for proactive steps drawing from current data, whereas jurisprudence experts stress the importance of solid confirmation of non-natural origins prior to enacting rules impacting ordinary citizens. Financial aspects of readiness efforts for possible extraterrestrial interactions highlight the tension between defensive prudence and empirical doubt. Pouring money into orbital protection tech and improved monitoring tools demands hefty sums that might seem extravagant should 3 Atlas turn out to be wholly organic. Yet, skimping on safeguards could lead to disaster if the entity signals true extraterrestrial scouting. Broader questions in philosophy from the rift between scientists and the armed forces surpass short-term governance issues, probing how open societies ought to tackle existential dangers amid divided expert consensus on their probability or gravity. Striking a harmony between vigilant readiness and fiscal restraint grows especially tough in situations without past parallels. Tech advancement efforts launched due to 3D at last show the sway of defense priorities over research doubts, with big outlays on cutting-edge detection gear, orbital infrastructure, and evaluation tools that go beyond mere curiosity about cosmic visitors. Such spending could yield benefits elsewhere, regardless of whether 3I Atlas is purely a natural phenomenon. Training regimens for staff in hypothetical extraterrestrial scenarios mark yet another domain where defense readiness advances amid doubts from scientists about contact's feasibility. Armed forces and spy agency members have undergone targeted instruction in alien life forms, unusual physical principles, and initial engagement rules that would hold no value if 3 Atlas were merely an odd comet. Global teamwork setups for tracking 3-2 at last amid its sun-blocking phase embody a middle ground between researchers' push for transparent data exchange and defense needs for tactical secrecy. These setups could set examples for upcoming joint efforts on orbital events that muddy lines between inquiry and state protection. Outreach plans crafted for eventual public reveal on 3 at last demonstrate a precise equilibrium between empirical ambiguity and defense readiness. Government bodies have developed outreach initiatives designed to tackle a wide array of possibilities, from verifying the entity as an ordinary comet to disclosing its man-made nature and any risks it poses to humankind. With Thurthurian at last nearing its pivotal phase of solar eclipse, the ongoing conflict between researchers' doubt and Defense Forces' readiness keeps shaping top-tier policy choices. Settling this conflict might rely more on real events than on theoretical arguments over techniques and proof. Specifically, what unfolds as the entity reappears from the sun's shadow, either aligning with standard astronomical predictions or substantiating defense worries regarding our initial contact with sophisticated alien minds. Organizations and experts who demonstrate the sharpest foresight in evaluating this interstellar enigma could see their methods for scrutinizing unclear occurrences become blueprints for handling subsequent findings that question our view of humanity's role in a more intricate and possibly inhabited cosmos. Narrating the tale of 3i at last requires exploring its forerunner, the puzzling body called 1 Oumuamua, which zipped through our solar system in 2017 and set worrisome benchmarks that have forever changed the ways authorities and armed services evaluate visitors from beyond our stars. Similarities linking these two entities, spaced 8 years apart yet bound by recurring odd traits that defy traditional stellar knowledge, imply that people might be observing not random oddities, but organized scouting missions from minds whose abilities and motives stay deeply enigmatic. MUA entered public consciousness on October 19, 2017, after the Pan-STARRS Observatory in Hawaii spotted what seemed at first like a routine space rock traversing the solar system's core. However, once stargazers started monitoring it intently, they uncovered features that contradicted all assumptions about typical celestial junk, sparking a debate in science circles that still affects how we examine 3 Atlas in the present day. The initial clue that Oumuamua marked a historic anomaly arose from its path computations, showing it wasn't from our solar system but an intruder from afar, the very first outsider from a distant stellar realm ever spotted by our instruments. The exact computations needed for its hyperbolic path indicated that Oumuamua had journeyed across the galaxy for eons prior to stumbling into our local space. Yet the path was merely the start of one Oumuamua's riddles. Upon closer inspection by astronomers, it became clear the body was speeding up as it departed the sun, in manners gravity couldn't fully account for. Comets from nature frequently show such boosts from venting gases when sunlight melts their outer layers. In contrast, Oumuamua displayed no obvious evidence of this no trail or hazy envelope like those seen in sun-nearing comets. Dr. Robert Verk, the scientist who first spotted Oumuamua within the Pan-STARRS records, has spoken of the mounting discomfort that spread through the scientific community as further data exposed ever more bizarre qualities. Its stretched-out form, boasting a length-to-width proportion over 10.1, stood as the slimmest profile recorded for any object in our solar system, hinting at either a bizarre natural origin or deliberate engineering. Spectral studies of Oumuamua indicated a makeup of metal or stone-like substances, unlike the frozen exteriors common to comets. Still, its acceleration beyond gravity's pull. The discovery of the first interstellar object allowed for far more detailed scrutiny of the subsequent one, uncovering irregularities that could easily have gone unnoticed without the prior groundwork laid by Oumuamua in alerting scientists and military experts to such findings. The subtle legal and diplomatic structures quietly put in place following Oumuamua set important precedents for intergovernmental collaboration on 3i Atlas. During the Oumuamua probe, the ad hoc dialogues between research organizations and defense bodies fostered quicker merging of public sightings with sensitive risk evaluations. By the time 3i Atlas was identified, the mental toll of Oumuamua's troubling traits on informed experts and policymakers had built a network of professionals mentally equipped to face the chance that this new arrival could signal something far weightier. Slowly embracing the idea of extraterrestrial probes as a credible reality, rather than mere speculative tales, allowed for calmer evaluation of 3i Atlas, sidestepping the disorienting upheaval that might have arisen had it marked humankind's initial brush with possible alien artifacts. Though the financial aspects of probing Oumuamua were relatively minor next to the later 3I Atlas examinations, they introduced fiscal channels and resource streams that could swiftly scale up against bigger dangers. The staff development, gear acquisition, and global partnership pacts crafted around Oumuamua laid core competencies that turned out vital for tackling 3I Atlas. Research outputs from the Oumuamua studies generated conceptual models and evaluation approaches that have been key to decoding 3I Atlas data. Equations, data analysis methods, and monitoring guidelines honed by those examining the initial visitor-supplied instruments for far sharper dissection of the follow-up. Examining Oumuamua alongside 3I Atlas highlights parallels and contrasts that shed light on the possible extent and intent of extraterrestrial scouting in our solar system. Each shows traits at odds with ordinary space junk, yet 3I Atlas seems bigger, steadier, and more deliberately maneuvered than its forerunner, hinting at either tech progress or altered objectives. Path studies of these interstellar entrants uncover compelling trends in their entry vectors and inner system paths, pointing to deliberate scouting plans over chance wanderings. Oumuamua came in from the Lyra constellation and exited toward Pegasus, whereas 3I Atlas entered via Sagittarius on a route offering broader views of the planets. The roughly 8-year gap between these verified interstellar arrivals might indicate the rhythm of organized spy operations, not the sporadic odds of natural drifters. Should these confirmed interstellar items prove to be engineered watchers instead of cosmic flotsam, the sequence from Oumuamua to 3I Atlas implies ongoing oversight of Earth's tech progress. The distinct actions of the pair offer further hints into their aims and strengths. Oumuamua's erratic spin might stem from innate dynamics or clever disguise to blend with space rubble. In contrast, 3I Atlas exhibits tighter control over its orientation and course, implying superior engineering or less worry over detection by us. Detection abilities, spectroscopic examination of the two entities uncovers comparable unusual traits that distinguish them from standard solar system substances, yet also highlights variances possibly pointing to distinct sources or building components. Isotopic traces found in each imply origins in stellar settings beyond our own solar system, though the precise variations could stem from production by varied societies or progress in technology across the period separating their creation. Electromagnetic signals captured from both, though mostly kept under wraps, allegedly display parallels indicating shared methods for cosmic messaging and steering. Emission sequences from 3I ultimately seem more advanced than those observed from Oumuamua, which might signal either progress in tech or unique functional needs. Global intel exchanges on these items have uncovered advancing partnership structures that underscore increasing awareness of worldwide effects from possible extraterrestrial monitoring. Pacts initially set for Oumuamua study have grown and been officially documented for 3I Atlas probes, setting examples for worldwide teamwork that could be vital in handling upcoming cosmic arrivals. Defense reaction plans crafted after Oumuamua have undergone major growth and polishing, drawing from insights gained in the initial extraterrestrial brush. Secret drills, education initiatives, and countermeasure setups formed post-Oumuamua find laid essential groundwork, allowing far broader setup for 3 situations. The broader research sectors shift from early doubt over Oumuamua as man-made to broader receptivity toward such ideas for 3I Atlas mirrors, a slow embrace that traditional stargazing ideas might fall short for probing space travelers defying natural origin models. Tech advancement efforts sparked by Oumuamua Shaw have delivered upgraded tools for scrutinizing 3I Atlas, such as cutting-edge detectors, better data processing methods, and broader conceptual models for assessing likely crafted space items. Funding poured into studies over the 8-year gap between arrivals has greatly boosted our preparedness for thorough review of cosmic events. Societal and cultural groundwork started via Oumuamua debates has fostered wider public insight into alien arrival chances, lessening risks of hysteria or societal upheaval should 3 at last confirm as genuine otherworldly gear. Steady rollout of space visitor ideas via Oumuamua reports has primed general views for bolder disclosures potentially arising from 3I Atlas scrutiny. The sequence from Oumuamua to 3I at last, should it persist with later space intruders, hints that our kind could be stepping into an age of steady exchanges with foreign scouting operations, where occurrence and complexity might rise alongside our own tech strides. Benchmarks from probing these initial pair of likely alien guests could shape how well our society adjusts to ongoing off-world watching, and the hurdles plus prospects such ongoing ties hold for our growth in a crowded cosmos. The overlap of 3 at last with the extraordinary troop assembly at Quantico signifies much beyond the mere crossing of this development, fuses scientific intrigue with strategic military considerations, signaling a pivotal moment in humanity's journey where we face the reality of not being the sole inhabitants of the cosmos, and our initial encounter with alien minds might unfold not in the blockbuster fantasies of sci-fi, but via the understated scouting missions from societies whose tech prowess and motives elude our grasp today. The exacting numerical links between these disparate occurrences uncover designs that upend conventional notions of chance and cause in the grand scheme of the stars. The sequence connecting the July find of Thurdho at last to the September defense briefing illustrates a deliberate reaction to classified intel evaluations, shielded from civilian eyes, yet evidently persuasive enough to prompt top U.S. commanders to endorse extraordinary safeguards against what many ordinary people still wave off as mere fantasy. The sweeping shifts in bureaucratic focus needed to connect celestial sightings with armed readiness echo the profound realignments in national agendas since the dawn of atomic arms through the Manhattan Project. That identical drive for discretion and haste that defined U.S. readiness for nuclear conflict now steers preparations for possible otherworldly encounters, implying that top leaders regard verified extraterrestrial surveillance as a threat on par with the dire perils of atomic arsenals. On the world stage, this reaction underscores a collective acknowledgement that alien interaction surpasses old ideas of borders and rivalries between countries. The collaborative setups forged among partner spy networks and armed forces to track 3-2s at last signify groundbreaking teamwork on issues vital to the endurance and evolution of all humankind, not just isolated states' agendas. The disparities in tech highlighted by 3I Atlas scrutiny have sparked innovation drives that could revolutionize our prowess in the void of space. Whether the entity turns out natural or engineered, the detection tools, evaluation methods, and conceptual models crafted to probe prospective alien artifacts are propelling scientific progress at speeds unattainable, absent the pressure from imminent contact prospects. The mental and societal groundwork for such encounters is already reshaping societal pillars and worldviews in profound ways that reach well past short-term safety issues. Faith groups, learning centers, and news outlets are wrestling with inquiries into our role in a universe that might teem with life, upending core beliefs about the universe's meaning and higher powers that have molded societies for ages. The fiscal ramifications of gearing up for alien outreach involve budget choices that might redefine worldwide focuses for decades ahead. Pouring funds into orbital protection setups, cutting-edge studies, and cross-border alliances essential for countering extraterrestrial probes demands a scale of monetary and cerebral investment rivaling humanity's boldest endeavors. The regulatory and envoy structures emerging for alien engagement scenarios lack any parallel in earthly jurisprudence or global diplomacy. The hurdles in crafting guidelines for dialogue, bargaining, and dispute settlement, with minds whose cognitive frameworks and ethical paradigms could be entirely foreign to human perspectives, necessitating a profound overhaul of legal structures crafted for dealings among earthbound beings with common evolutionary roots. The tactical ramifications of possible extraterrestrial oversight reach further than pressing safety issues, touching on inquiries into humanity's tech progress and societal growth, which might have been shaped by off-world scrutiny for periods exceeding what present data indicates. Should 3 at last and Oumuamua serve as fresh instances of deliberate alien oversight, then the course of human events might have progressed beneath the gaze of minds whose meddling or direction has evaded detection. Through standard historical scrutiny, the scholarly upheaval sparked by earnest exploration of man-made source theories for cosmic travelers could rival the Copernican shift that ousted Earth from universal centrality. The prospect that sophisticated extraterrestrial societies habitually scout emerging tech-savvy races demands a core rethinking of premises regarding the prevalence of sentient life, the essence of spacefaring journeys, and the power plays shaping ties among societies divided by immense stellar expanses. Military strategies born from probing prospective alien dangers acknowledge that classic notions of dissuasion, protection, and combat lose all relevance when confronting foes wielding tech surpassing human levels by ages or eons. Those very imbalances that render alien encounters possibly advantageous for boosting human innovation also forge weaknesses that might turn disastrous should extraterrestrial motives turn adversarial, or if human actions provoke hostile backlash from societies whose tolerance for nascent races wears thin. The intel evaluation tools fashioned for scrutinizing Thund at last have spawned fresh approaches to separating organic occurrences from likely engineered artifacts, which could be vital for spotting upcoming alien endeavors. The probabilistic methods, motif detection systems, and risk evaluation procedures crafted for appraising cosmic intruders mark leaps in scrutiny prowess that stretch well past short-term uses tied to possible alien tech. The outreach plans devised for eventual public revelation of extraterrestrial encounters strike a precise equilibrium between upholding societal order and readying humankind for disclosures that might upend our grasp of universal truth. The awareness drives being readied by state bodies recognize that verified alien interaction would demand unparalleled teamwork among research bodies, armed forces, faith authorities, and news outlets to avert hysteria while fostering positive adjustment to interstellar membership. The schooling overhaul needed to equip coming cohorts for possible alien encounters involves syllabus shifts spanning from basic science classes to elite postgraduate studies. Incorporating astrobiology, xenopsychology, and interstellar sociology into scholarly setups signals awareness that human cognitive growth must advance to tackle trials and prospects beyond planetary confines. The conceptual fallout from potential alien interaction contests, bedrock beliefs about awareness, intellect, and ethical maturation that form the basis of human moral codes and communal setups. The chance that sentience inherently gravitates to probing, monitoring, and possible strife over alliance and shared gain calls for a fresh look at hopeful assumptions regarding the path of technological societies and the prospects for resolving conflicts between species without violence. The paths of technological advancement sparked by verified proof of extraterrestrial tech could deliver massive jumps in human abilities, squeezing hundreds of years of standard scientific growth into just a few decades of focused investigation and innovation. Dissecting alien drive mechanisms, signaling devices, and materials expertise might yield answers to energy shortages, mobility issues, and production hurdles that seem impossible to overcome with everyday methods. Responses in culture and the arts to possible extraterrestrial encounters are starting to surface via sci-fi books, movies, and online content that delve into everything from harmonious talks to dire clashes with hostile off-world societies. Such cultural probes act as mental warm-ups for real encounters and as spaces to probe the moral and tactical dilemmas stemming from dealings with alien minds. The shifts in faith and spirituality needed to weave extraterrestrial contact into current doctrines pose deep theological puzzles spanning every major global faith and thought system. Harmonizing ideas of godly origins with signs of numerous smart life forms across the stars demands shifts in teachings that uphold sacred purpose amid accepting vast truths that go beyond old human-centered perspectives. The population and societal effects of proven extraterrestrial contact would probably differ widely among various groups and areas, posing special hurdles for those whose heritage hinges on notions of human exceptionalism or Earth seclusion. Building aid networks and adjustment initiatives for folks struggling to absorb alien reality setups is a societal design task without any past parallel. The ecological effects of sharing potential alien tech might offer fixes for global warming, resource exhaustion, and habitat damage that now endanger the endurance of human society over the long haul. Power setups, production techniques, and travel innovations held by starfaring societies could support eco-friendly growth patterns that wipe out the green limits now capping human numbers and tech spread. The study efforts launched because of have finally forged worldwide science partnerships that cut across usual country lines and agency clashes. The pressing need to grasp possible alien tech has spurred teamwork among scientists who would normally vie for grants and acclaim, setting examples for worldwide research unity that might help tackle other issues hitting everyone on the planet. The defense drills crafted for possible extraterrestrial encounter situations have produced expert staff skilled in alien life studies, strange physics, and cross-species dialogue, forming brand new job fields in security outfits. These pros give humankind its initial group of people vocationally equipped for the real-world demands of handling ties with otherworldly smarts. The space tech initiatives backed by risks of alien dangers have sped up human prowess in far space monitoring, planet-hopping journeys, and satellite shields that boost protection from both cosmic and earthbound perils. The versatile applications of these advancements in these technologies ensure that funding for preparing for alien encounters yields advantages for standard military uses and non-military space ventures. Even if scenarios involving extraterrestrial contact never come to pass, the protocols for decision-making in such cases build organizational structures that can be swiftly mobilized should proof of extraterrestrial presence become irrefutable. The guidelines for communication, leadership hierarchies, and reaction plans crafted for three-thread atlas situations offer adaptable models for different forms of alien interaction, promoting unified human reactions over disorganized ones to transformative events. The historical responses from authorities to 3 Atlas and the Quantico Armed Forces Assembly could shape how well our society navigates the shift from a world-bound existence to one integrated into the stars. Should upcoming revelations verify that sophisticated extraterrestrial societies coexist with us in the galaxy, the systems, innovations, and societal shifts created to address these prospective initial encounters signify our species' early efforts to gear up for trials and prospects that might influence our destiny for hundreds of years ahead. As we conclude our delve into one of the greatest enigmas of the era, we stand on the brink of prospects that upend all our prior notions of our role in the cosmos. The narrative of 3I at last and the extraordinary armed services convocation at Quantico goes beyond mere another segment in celestial findings or security strategies. It could signal the instant when humankind first caught a hint that isolation in this immense universe is an illusion, and that our debut interaction with alien minds is emerging not via flashy arrivals or blatant transmissions, but via the discreet scouting of societies whose technologies surpass our wildest conceptions. The statistical anomalies encircling 3 Atlas from its trajectory, defying all odds to its impeccably scheduled eclipse by the sun, form an increasingly persuasive image with every datum we scrutinize. Taking into account that this entity followed the ideal route to inspect our solar system's prime destinations, exhibited remarkable steadiness amid signs of comet-like behavior, and will vanish behind the sun right when concealed adjustments might steer it earthward, the sequence points to deliberate design over random chance. The official handling exposed by the September Armed Forces session narrates a tale of mounting alarm among top governmental echelons. When scores of Earth's top-ranking military leaders are summoned from global operations for a secret session whose agenda stays publicly vague, it prompts the question of what intel could warrant such extreme steps. The solution might reside not in the accessible stellar information on 3I at last, but in the restricted sightings and evaluations shielded from public eyes. The scholarly contention around Dr. Avi Loeb's hypotheses illustrates the challenges entrenched bodies face when confronting ideas that upend core beliefs about existence. Although traditional stargazing prioritizes everyday interpretations and insists on robust proof for bold assertions, the essence of cutting-edge alien scouting could be crafted to stay intriguingly unclear, offering believable earthly rationales while methodically collecting data on human strengths and motives. The similarities to Oumuamua indicate that we might be observing not random oddities, but signs of persistent organized monitoring by societies that have been tracking human progress for years or even decades. The 8-year gap separating these verified interstellar objects could signal operational rhythms instead of mere chance, suggesting that our solar system gets periodic scrutiny from vast galactic intelligence operations. The dark forest theory offers a lens for grasping why such monitoring would favor invisibility over direct engagement. In a cosmos driven by predatory rules, where societies wipe out rivals before they pose a real danger, any extraterrestrial scout would be engineered for secrecy while collecting data on prospective targets. The enigmatic features of 3 Atlas that baffle experts might embody the exact subtle masking we'd anticipate from cutting-edge spy tech. The defense measures triggered by these findings show an awareness that verified extraterrestrial encounters carry weighty ramifications, stretching past mere academic interest to probe deep issues of humanity's endurance and evolution as an advanced society. The secret tools deployed to scrutinize through Atlas imply that official evaluations of its importance starkly contrast with what scientists share publicly. Covert monitoring by defense networks could have uncovered radio signals, inner designs, and movement patterns that reveal a much graver scenario than what amateur stargazers can pick up. The divide between open information and restricted intel on 3 Atlas might loom as large as the chasm between our visible insights into the entity and the extensive knowledge superior alien watchers hold about us. With 3 Atlas nearing its key phase of eclipse by the sun, choices in the next few weeks could rank among the pivotal moments in our species' saga. Should the body stick to its forecasted path and head back to the stars, it might linger as a captivating enigma that slowly slips from the spotlight. Yet, if secret tracking spots trajectory shifts or unusual actions amid its concealed solar transit, we could confront disclosures that upend our view of the universe. The chance that we're amid our initial brush with alien minds, not via flashy announcements, but via dawning awareness of organized otherworldly oversight forces, a rethink of our preconceptions on encounter dynamics. If they are out there, these beings likely grasp us far better than we grasp them, having mapped our tech prowess, societal frameworks, and weak spots in detail. The fallout reaches past short-term puzzles on their motives to wider worries about our preparedness for interstellar society. How we handle possible alien scouting will be watched and judged by minds whose verdicts on our readiness and value for cosmic fellowship could shape whether later interactions unfold via cordial talks or paths we'd rather avoid. The knowledge boom from proven alien ties would eclipse past upheavals in our worldview, possibly unlocking innovations and concepts to tackle power, mobility, and ecological woes now endangering our society's endurance. Still, those prospects would arrive alongside perils tied to the stark imbalances between our skills and those of elder cosmic powers, able to journey between stars. The profound shifts in culture and philosophy needed to weave extraterrestrial encounters into our collective human perspectives pose obstacles that permeate all the structures and ideologies defining our grasp of significance and destiny amid the stars. Uncovering widespread sentience across the galaxy could erode our sense of unique centrality in creation, yet at the same time heighten our awareness of belonging to a broader network of aware entities probing the enigmas of being. The defense measures initiated due to possible extraterrestrial scouting embody both wise vigilance and an awareness that the very innovations allowing benign voyages across space might be turned into arms capable of endangering entire worlds on a fundamental level. Striking harmony between protective measures and welcoming diplomacy could decide if our species' entry onto the galactic stage results in harmonious inclusion or devastating strife. The global collaboration arising from the prospect of alien interaction shows how issues touching every person on Earth can surpass old geopolitical tensions, fostering remarkable unity among countries that typically vie for dominance. The protocols now in creation for handling such contacts could set examples for tackling additional worldwide issues demanding collective action from humankind. In reflecting on the deep inquiries sparked by 3I Atlas and the armed reaction it has provoked, we should recognize that these occurrences might only reveal their true weight looking back. The faint indicators of extraterrestrial monitoring spotted by certain experts in today's data could appear evident later if events ahead verify that our solar system has truly faced ongoing watch from sophisticated off-world societies. The bravery needed to examine these ideas earnestly, all while upholding analytical precision and mental steadiness, embodies the finest aspects of our species' inquisitive mind and flexibility. Regardless of whether 3I at last turns out as a rare yet earthly comet or our initial verified brush with otherworldly craft, probing its secrets has already broadened our view of possibilities within this immense and astonishing cosmos we call home. The narrative keeps developing live overhead as 3I Labs hurtles toward its meeting with the Sun and any insights that might surface upon its return from behind our central star. Choices in secret strategy sessions and monitoring from concealed networks could be shaping our interstellar destiny, even as the majority of us stay oblivious to the unfolding saga in the void separating realms. Thanks for accompanying me through this delve into one of the era's greatest riddles. If this probe stirred your thoughts, hit like on the video and subscribe to back further explorations of inquiries that test our perception of existence. And keep in mind, the cosmos holds far greater oddity and marvel than we've conceived, brimming with opportunities for us to uncover and apply our insight when facing revelations from the heavens. As the adage goes, the truth lies beyond. Yet it might also dwell within, speeding across our solar system at 200,000 km/h, bearing the power to reshape all our prior notions of our role in the greater stellar fellowship. At last, we might be prepared to participate.